Orleans lefty John Halama mystified the Buffalo Bisons Monday night. Third baseman Chris Truby came through with dazzling defense, and big first baseman Darrell Ward provided the power for a 7-2 Zephyrs win. Tonight, promising Bison slugger Russell Branyan, who homered last night, will try to help Buffalo even this series. But last night's hitting hero could light it up again tonight. Game 2 of the AAA World Series is next. Welcome to beautiful Cashman Field in Las Vegas, Nevada. Tonight, Game 2 of the 1998 AAA World Series between the Pacific Coast League champion New Orleans Zephyrs and the International League champion Buffalo Bisons. A big game on tap for this evening here at Cashman Field. Along with Dave Campbell, I'm Ted DeLuca. A big night for the Bisons, Dave. The Zephyrs played well last night, winning Game 1, 7-2. Buffalo needs a win in this short series tonight.
I really think they do, because Bob Scanlon is scheduled to pitch on Thursday, a veteran who's been hot in postseason, an 0.50 ERA. So I think it'd be a good idea for Buffalo to get back in the W column tonight.
The Zephyrs have a real spark plug at the top of the batting order, second baseman Carlos Hernandez. He had a great game last night.
He did, and over the last 200 at-bats, he's hitting .352. He's got solid hands and great running speed, stole 29 bases during the regular season. He's a product of that great Astros Venezuelan academy that's produced so many fine players for him, and they say that academy's loaded with more players like Carlos Hernandez.
Buffalo has a very talented player at third base. We saw him last night for the first time, Russell Branyan. He went deep, hit a home run, looks to have all the tools.
Yeah, about 450 feet last night at least. He hit 40 home runs in '96, 39 home runs in 1997. He only had 16 this year at Canton Akron, but that's because he missed 4 months of the season with a bad wrist. He still had 16 homers and 163 at-bats. This guy is legitimate as far as a big-time power-hitting prospect.
It is a key night for the Bisons. Earlier tonight, the third member of our crew, John Sandler, got a scouting report down on the field.
Thank you, fellas. On the field here with Jeff Manto. Had a chance to talk to your manager, Jeff Datsey. He said, I asked him who's the leader on the club. He said Jeff Manto. So, Jeff, a disappointing night last night, I think. You guys had a great year. You don't want to see it fizzle out. You're a leader. What do you do to kind of turn things around after last night?
Today, you just got to make sure you let everybody know that it's normal to have that kind of a disappointment. There was not too much intensity on either side of the field last night. I don't know what it was. I guess it was Game 5. Everybody didn't have anything left. But you just make the guys realize that, that does happen, and, just try to bounce back.
Is there something you going to have any sort of a meeting with the guys, or just kind of a lead-by-example situation?
Lead by example and constructively criticizing the clubhouse, make jokes about it, and these guys will get the message.
All righty, Jeff Manto delivering the message by keeping the guys loose. Back upstairs.
The Bisons will be the home team this evening here at Cashman Field in Las Vegas. A couple of lefties on the mound. Mike Matthews for Buffalo, Derek Root for New Orleans.
Back to beautiful Cashman Field, Game 2 of the 1998 AAA World Series. John Sandler with you in the New Orleans dugout. The Zephyrs got some great defense last night from their third baseman, Chris Truby. He made 3 spectacular plays, really helping the Zephyrs to an early lead and holding on to that lead. But later on in the game, Chris suffered an injury, diving for a foul ball, made a gallant effort, but unable to come up with it. And as a result, Chris Truby is not available tonight to the Zephyrs. You see the play right there. Chris spraining his left wrist on that play. Chris Truby, unavailable tonight for the Zephyrs. With me in the dugout, Chris, great effort last night, 3 great plays, and then the tough luck. How's the wrist feel tonight?
Well, right now it's sore, I can't really swing right now, but hopefully, with the treatment I got this morning, this afternoon, and tomorrow's an off day, and I'll be getting some more treatment, maybe, hopefully Thursday I'll be able to play, and, that's basically, hopefully Thursday we'll play.
Well, I know your team wants you, and I hope it gets better in a hurry. We're going to go upstairs right now. Ted and Dave have the starting lineups for tonight's ballgame.
John, thanks very much. A tough loss for the Zephyrs without Chris Truby in the starting lineup tonight. Second baseman Carlos Hernandez will lead things off. Casey Candell hits second and center. Then it's Darrell Ward. He had a big night last night. Paul Russo, the DH. Lance Berkman hits fifth. He's in left. Mike Neal at third base in place of Truby, hitting sixth. Chad Alexander in right field. Mark Ronan behind the plate. He also had a fine offensive night last night. Julio Lugo at short, hitting ninth for the Zephyrs, and their skipper, John Tamargo. Lefty Mike Matthews on the mound for the Bisons tonight. A big test for him this evening, Dave.
You see his numbers on the season. He also missed some time with a broken foot, taking a line drive off that foot. He was a #2 draft choice in '92, had a great first year. Then he had rotator cuff surgery, and he is just getting strong again over the last 2 years. It takes a long time to come back from those arm injuries. 88 to 90 miles an hour on the fastball, a hook, and a change. And if he's throwing strikes, he can be tough.
And as you said, he is getting stronger, coming back from that serious rotator cuff surgery. Carlos Hernandez is having a terrific playoff run for the New Orleans Zephyrs, and he has that Major League Baseball logo tattooed on his left bicep. He leads off tonight's ball game. The Zephyrs won Game 1 last night, 7-2. Hernandez takes a ball high to get us underway here at Cashman Field in Las Vegas. Another Chamber of Commerce day this afternoon, and a beautiful evening has followed. Hernandez gives it a poke to right field, but it's hit right at James Betzold, who comes in to make the grab for the first out of the ball game. During the regular season, Mike Matthews, 9 wins for Buffalo, second on the team to lefty Jason Hakami, who won 14 ball games. He has since been called up by the parent Indians. Casey Candell, a former Cleveland Indian in his own right, at the plate for the Zephyrs, a switch hitter. Good pop on that pitch from Matthews to Candell.
Well, you mentioned last night, Casey, longtime minor league veteran, hoping for another shot at the big league level.
Candell now up in the count, 2-0 against lefty Mike Matthews. Buffalo, the home team for this evening's Game 2. Game 3, Thursday. New Orleans will be the home team once again. If we do have a Game 4, the Bisons will host that game, and a Game 5, which would be played Saturday night, would be hosted by New Orleans.
Good movement on that fastball by Matthews.
Candell pokes the pitch down the right field line, foul. So that evens the count, 2-2.
You never know why those left-handers have that natural sink on their pitches, but about 90% of them do. And you really have a find when you get a right-hander that does that. Kevin Brown at the major league level, obviously the foremost practitioner. Matt Morris in St. Louis. Billy Swift for a while had that great movement, but it seems though all left-handers do. I've talked to a million major league scouts, and they have no idea why.
To be successful in this park at this altitude, we're about 2,300 feet above sea level, you have to keep the ball down. That one a bit high. Candell taking a cut. He goes down swinging.
Check out the defense playing behind Matthews tonight. Scott Morgan and James Betzold in left and right platoon, but they're playing 2 nights in a row because it's the second time they've seen a lefty. Jacob Cruz in center. The phenom Russ Branyan at third. Robert Carrero at short. Veteran Torrey Lovello at second base, and Jeff Mano at first. Steve Solis is the catcher.
Last night's hitting hero for the New Orleans Zephyrs stands in Darrell Ward, the son of former big leaguer Gary Ward.
Looks like Matthews, we've seen him a couple of times hit 92, so the adrenaline's really flowing. By the way, for you scouts that watched last night, our gun wasn't calibrated properly, so throw out those numbers you were watching on the television last night.
You just made Marcus Moore's night, Dave.
Well, you know, we also had a Lam at about 80. He was throwing 86 to 88 miles an hour.
Lefty Mike Matthews has himself a 1-2-3 inning to get tonight's ball game underway. The home team, the Bisons, will hit when we come back to Las Vegas on ESPN2. Welcome back to Las Vegas. The Zephyrs have taken their cuts for the first time tonight. The Bisons will hit in the home half of the first. We take a look at the starting lineup for skipper Jeff Datz. Holbert Cabrera leads off at short. Torrey Lovello is at second base. Jacob Cruz, promising young hitter in center field. The cleanup man, the veteran Jeff Manzo. Phil Hyde hits fifth. He's the DH. Russell Branyan poked that long home run last night. He's at third. In right field, it's James Betzold, Scott Morgan in left, and Steven Solis behind the plate. The Bisons will face a left-hander in Game 2. They saw lefty John Halama in game 1. Derek Root on the mound for the Zephyrs.
6'5", 215 pounds. He's out of Lakewood, Ohio. He's the third level he's pitched at this year. He started in Kissimmee in A ball, went to Double-A ball, and then he has been up in the major leagues, or the Triple-A level, 1-0, 2.15 in his one start. He was 4-1 at Jackson, 3.89 ERA, and he doesn't throw as hard as Matthews. Control will be his key tonight.
Actually drafted as a first baseman, a 5th-round pick back in 1993, and despite that size, as a first baseman in his first season of rookie ball, he didn't hit a home run. Right then, I think they knew, we'll try this guy on the mound, and he has progressed well through the Astros developmental system. Holbert Cabrera, an International League All-Star, leads off the game and takes strike 1.
Cabrera wants to take a look, not only for himself, but also for his teammates. That's the job of a leadoff man. That first time up, don't go up there hacking at the first pitch.
Cabrera fouls it off his leg at the plate.
Trust me, those 2, 3, 4, and 5 hitters appreciate that leadoff guy. It'll go up there and maybe go 5, 6, 7 pitches into the count. Watch Cabrera get drilled on the first top. That one won't hurt quite as much. For example, last night, Carlos Hernandez led off the game with a single for New Orleans, but he had a 10-pitch at bat, and that set the tone for the whole evening.
I like the high socks on Cabrera. That one may have hit him.
I think I got him on the first hop on the toe, but John Desmond says take your base. So the breaking ball down and in got him on the first hop, and Cabrera gets aboard.
Not the way lefty Derek Root wanted to begin tonight's ball game, hitting leadoff man Holbert Cabrera.
Slider just coming down and eating him. Yeah. Tough to see the contact on the foot, but either that or Cabrera gets a good Oscar.
Bison's leading base stealer during the regular season. Hitting behind him, the experienced Torey Lovullo, a switch hitter. In postseason play, Lovullo has been doing his job for the Bisons. Hasn't hit a home run yet, but he's been very consistent for this Buffalo team that led the International League in batting during the regular season. The Zephyrs led the PCL in hitting. Lovullo's down 0-2.
Last year, he was the MVP of the American Association Championships. And you mentioned last night, over 1,000 career minor league hits. Comes from an interesting family background. His father, Sam, was a producer for one of the longest running television shows in history called Hee Haw.
One of your personal favorites, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I never missed an episode. Who was on that show?
Grandpa Jones. Wasn't he out in the cornfield?
I don't know. I never saw it.
BR 549. Lovullo gives it a poke, and the play won't be made. It drops between the two outfielders. One of those, I got it, you take it situations. And the Bisons have the first 2 men on.
Well, maybe not a good time to take a look at the defense, but there was confusion between Chad Alexander and Wright and Casey Candell. I don't know what happened. Casey's looking at Alexander. All of a sudden, I got it, you take it. Certainly couldn't have lost it in the twilight because it's dark here in Las Vegas. So as good as the Zephyrs played last night and as bad as the Bisons played, things are reversed in the early going tonight.
A gift loop single for Torey Lovullo. Perhaps Candell and Alexander, longtime Hee Haw fans. Lovullo reaches, and the Bisons have their first 2 men on base for the very potent bat of Jacob Cruz. He led the PCL in batting last year. He hit .361. In late July, he was acquired by the Indians in a deal between Cleveland and San Francisco.
The reason that Alexander is in right field tonight is because of the injury to Chris Truby at third. That caused Mike Neal to move from right over to third base. So right away, a defensive mistake by the Zephyrs. We'll see if Buffalo can take advantage of it.
Bisons can certainly use a break early in tonight's ball game. A must-win situation for Buffalo. This is a best-of-5 series. And should New Orleans win tonight, they would have a commanding 2-0 lead. They'd be the host team in Game 3. 1-1 the count to Cruz. He took a healthy cut on that pitch.
85 miles an hour, so about 6 miles an hour slower than Matthews, but Root's going to have to hit spots. This ball was right down the horn. Jacob Cruz would like to have that one back.
Between Fresno and Buffalo this year in 132 games, Cruz hit 31 home runs, knocked in 98 runs. And along with that, he hit 309. So in 2 separate leagues, he owned the pitchers in the IL and the PCL.
Yeah, and again last year, just a tremendous year, a 30-game hitting streak, a 361 average at AAA.
The wind is blowing out to straightaway center field. Cruz gets around late, and the count is even.
Well, the Giants went out and made some deals. They ended up picking up Ellis Burks from Colorado to play center field. And Marvin Bernard, he was doing such a good job that I guess the Giants finally felt, even though Cruz was putting up the huge numbers in AAA, that he would be expendable so they could get those players from Cleveland they acquired.
The Indians and the Houston Astros, the parent clubs of these two teams. Buffalo with Cleveland, New Orleans with Houston. And of course, the Indians and Astros have clinched their respective central divisions. They are headed to postseason play. Pickoff throw, and the ball squirts away from the shortstop Lugo. Not far enough for Cabrera to advance. Cabrera has a habit of really annoying opposing pitchers. He's one of those guys that out of the corner of your eye as a pitcher, he's very distracting.
Well, it's not a bad idea for that pickoff play because Root does have a slow delivery to the plate, and you might see Cabrera think about stealing third, so he planted something in his mind, especially if Jacob Cruz doesn't get aboard here or makes an out, and then you have the right-handed hitting Mano up. That might be the time he would think about stealing. So Root gave him a reminder, don't take too big a lead.
Jacob Cruz acquired in that deal July 23rd. Steve Reed also going to Cleveland. Giants picked up a couple of pitchers, Jose Mesa and Alvin Moorman, and veteran shortstop Sean Dunston. Cruz hasn't hit a home run in postseason play yet. And he will head to the dugout on a weak swing. Good pitch by Derek Root.
Why don't we take a look at the defense playing behind Derek Root for the New Orleans Zephyrs tonight. Lance Berkman is in left, Casey Candell in center. The change is Chad Alexander in right and Mike Neal at third. Julio Lugo at short, Carlos Hernandez at second. The offensive star last night's game, Darrell Ward at first, and Mark Ronan, who got a chance when Mitch Molesky was called up to Houston. He's had a great postseason, hitting over 400. He's behind the plate.
When Jeff Manzo walks into a team's clubhouse, the entire room lights up. Jeff's one of those guys that players love to play with. Keeps everybody loose on the club, and he's really been a leader for this Bisons team now 2 years. He went to the Bisons midway through last season, had a great impact last year, helped the team win the American Association Championship, and he has the team in postseason play again this year as one of the main men.
Ted Mando's just one of those guys that absolutely loves the game. I mean, he's played in Japan. He's played with 6 different organizations. He's had some quality time in the big leagues. This is the type of guy you have a feeling that when his playing career is over, he's going to be a member of an organization as a instructor, manager, or whatever. He just has a great love and understanding of the game.
He's up in the count 3-0 against the lefty Root. Good situation for Manto to do some damage. He's been very productive with the Bisons the last 2 years. This season, in 54 games with Buffalo during the regular year, he drove in 54 runs. He hit .321 with 20 homers. 2 men on for Manto.
Jeff had a good rip. Had a couple of hits last night. One was a solid hit to center, another one a little bit of a nubber, but he had a pitch right there to drive. Had back-to-back Grand Slam games this year at the end of July and the first day of August. He can put a team on his back. In fact, he had 3 games in a row during that span where he had 5 RBIs.
And Manto walks to load the bases. First walk of the ball game issued by Derek Root. He hit leadoff man Holbert Cabrera. Lovolo received the gift single. The ball dropped in between center fielder Candel and right fielder Alexander. Manto walks and the bases are loaded. A quick trip to the mound by the Zephyrs pitching coach.
You know, Jim Hickey's a guy who spent 8 years in pro ball as a pitcher. Did not make it to the major leagues. He's also spent 7 years in the Houston organization as a pitching coach, and he's out just talking to the youngster Root. I think everybody realizes with Buffalo playing a bad game last night that Matthews went out and did a terrific job in the top of the first inning. If they can break through with some runs right here, I think they'll get a little momentum on their side.
Jim Hickey heading back to the dugout. On the first base side, the teams have kept the same dugouts for this series, although they've alternated which team will be the home team. As we go, the Zephyrs, the home team last night, they won game 1 7-2. Buffalo, the home team tonight. Phil Hyatt has a lot of power, but he does have a penchant for striking out. He fouls the first pitch back our way. A little bit beyond our reach.
Well, we mentioned last night, first game's not always indicative of how a series is going to go. Think back to 1996, first game of the World Series. The Braves blew out the Yankees 12-1. In fact, they won the first 2 games of that series in dominating fashion. Then all of a sudden, going down to Atlanta, you thought it was over. It was. The Yankees won 4 in a row.
Good breaking ball from Derek Root, and Phil Hyatt's in the hole, batting just .143 in postseason play this year. Holbert Cabrera at third, Torey Lovolo at second, Jeff Manto at first. The Bisons have the bases loaded, bottom of the first, 1 down. Hyatt hit 42 home runs 2 years ago. He was the IL MVP with the Toledo Mud Hens.
And he went to Japan, much like Manto did. Lovolo had some guys go to Japan and come back. Travis Driscoll, who's going to pitch in this series, also pitched in Japan. So got 4 guys in the series who have played in the Japanese professional leagues.
Hyatt pops up the 1-2. This one is out of play, and he stays alive with the count ball and 2 strikes. Hyatt has had major league time with the Tigers and the Royals. Judging by the sound of the crowd, an older gentleman wouldn't give a ball to a young kid.
Yeah, it was one of those writers in the press box.
Here comes the 1-2. Hyatt with a rip to left center field. Base hit. 2 runs. Will score. The throw to the plate. Not in time. Cabrera and Lovolo come home. A 2-run single for Phil Hyatt. And the Bisons had their first lead of the AAA World Series.
Ball got in on Hyatt just a little bit, but he's so strong, the pitch was up. He was able to muscle it over the shortstop's head. That's a huge hit for the Bisons. Again, they played very flat last night, but they come out with a vengeance tonight, get 2 early. Take a look at the location of the pitch. You see it's up. Hyatt got it a little bit out towards the end of the bat. Good job of base running also by Torey Lovolo, as he got a great jump off second base and was able to score.
Also used that hand tag of the play just in case the throw came in. Manto at second, Hyatt at first. James Betzold waiting on deck as Russell Branyan steps in for the first time tonight. Branyan cracked a long home run last night in his first game with Buffalo this season. He played for the Bisons in last season's American Association playoffs. He's never played a regular season game with Buffalo. Good fastball.
Well, we mentioned in the open the positive on Branyan. Again, 40 home runs in 96, 39 in 97, and he hit 1 in every 10 at-bats this year, despite the injury to the wrist. But he's also struck out over 150 times the 2 years that he played on a regular basis. Sometimes the big sluggers will do that, and eventually they'll start to come around and make better contact.
In the postseason with Akron this year, Branyan struggled. He went 2 for 11. That's 182 with a home run. He struck out 8 times. So he will get his rips at the plate. Number up the third base line, foul, so Brannion stays alive 0-2. Jeff Manto at second base. Bill Hyatt hustling back to first after his 2-run single. That put the Bisons on the board. Buffalo has its first lead of this AAA World Series.
So right back to that leadoff man, Cabrera. He had him 0-2 and then hit him, and that's what began the inning.
That was close.
John Deslin felt it curved around the plate. It was a strike by the time the catcher caught it, but it's the position of the ball where it crosses the plate.
A lot of pitches for Root in the first inning.
Yeah, much like Jason Rakers last night of Buffalo, who struggled in the first inning.
The shortstop Lugo ducked in behind Jeff Manto. Got to the bag well ahead of Manto, but Root didn't see him and couldn't make a move to second. Brannion trying to handle the lefty, Derek Root. 2-2.
A couple of very close pitches have both gone Brannion's way.
As we said a moment ago, Brannion has never played a regular season game with Buffalo. In the '97 playoffs with the Bisons, he played 5 games. Went 3 for 14 with a double. Scored 3 runs. Brannion strokes it high in the air, and the play should be made behind second base by the second baseman Hernandez. He reels that one in for the second out of the inning.
Pretty good breaking ball by Root. It was down. Brannion just went down and lifted it, but he got it out far enough that Russell couldn't get the big part of the bat on the ball.
Root trying to escape this first inning jam. 2 runs home. Big James Betzold steps in. Strong, young hitter. Betzold, 4 for 18 in the playoffs with a double and 3 ribbies. Hit 10 home runs during the regular season. Really, as a 4th outfielder with Buffalo, didn't get consistent playing time. A lot of very talented young outfielders in the Indians chain. Another pop-up, this one to center. Candell in a few steps, and he will squeeze it. That ends the inning. But the Bisons get 2 runs in their half of the first to take their first lead of this series. We'll head to the second in Las Vegas after this. John Deslin can shake him on down with Bird Zerk here at Cashman Field in Las Vegas tonight. I never knew that PCL umpire John Deslin had it in him. Now that is a tough move. Pulled off beautifully.
I think we may have to keep an eye on that umpire at the end of the inning and see if that's really John Deslin. It might be a sidekick dressed up in an umpire's uniform.
No, get out of here. Get out of here.
Spoil sport.
Bird Zerk available for birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, office parties. John Deslin and his sidekick Bird Zerk get a nice round of applause from the fans here at Cashman Field. He better hustle out to begin the inning. Here he comes.
I was going to say, I've always wanted to see a game without an umpire, but now John's going to come back out.
Nicely done by PCL umpire John Deslin, who is the crew chief for tonight. Mark Facto at first, Ray DeMuro at second base, Greg Gibson at third. A split crew tonight, as we will have the entire week here in Las Vegas. Lefty Mike Matthews set down the Zephyrs 1-2-3 in the first. DH Paul Russo will lead off the second. We should have brought our hard hats for this series. That one came right back into the press box.
Just a reminder, again, if you didn't join us last night, alternating home teams every other game. We are using the DH throughout. And the the umpire crew, 2 from the International League and 2 from the PCL.
Russo looking for his first hit of postseason play. We saw him last night in the ball game, won by the Zephyrs 7-2. He came in as a pinch hitter and went 0 for 2 to extend his postseason hitless streak to 0 for 15. Good pitch by Matthews.
Well, I don't know if the Bisons knew exactly what to expect out of Matthews tonight. Talking with some of their personnel today, they think he has great stuff, and they said it just depends where his head is tonight. He's off to a terrific start. Great breaking ball. The fastball's got a lot of zip on it in the early going.
Matthews coming back from major rotator cuff surgery that caused him to miss the entire 1993 season. This one will drift into the seats out of play.
One of the good things about modern medicine, I mean, 25 years ago, if a guy had a rotator cuff, he was done. But with the surgical techniques they perfected, especially over the last 10 years, top sports doctors around the country, guys can revive their career.
I remember a guy in the 70s, Wayne Garland, was a 20-game winner, blew out his rotator cuff, and that was it for him.
Well, the late Don Drysdale once said after Dr. Joe perfected the rotator cuff surgery, he says, now I know what ended my career. I thought it was just a bad shoulder. He said I had a torn rotator cuff.
It's amazing how far medicine has come in the sports arena. Arthroscopic knee surgeries. 2 weeks later, guys are back in the lineup. Cabrera with a fling to first in time to get a Russo. And we'll go downstairs to John Sandler in the Bisons dugout.
Thanks, fellas. Here with Jeff Datz, the Buffalo manager. Skip, has to be a little sigh of relief. We talked to Jeff Mano before the game about staying loose and just kind of leading by example, getting the club on the winning track. You got to lead early.
Yeah, we did. We're fortunate there that the ball fell in right center field and then loaded the bases, and Phil Hyatt stepped up with a big hit. So it's nice to jump out early, and hopefully it'll help Matthews here a little bit. But we need to keep adding on some runs and have some fun tonight, because it wasn't any fun last night due to that club over there. They played a good ball game, and Halama pitched great and shut us down. So we're here to try and even up the series tonight.
All righty. We're going back upstairs. Fellas, just a reminder, that booth, we only got 1 foul ball in there all regular season with the Stars. I don't know what's up with you guys. You got 2 in 2 nights.
They're after us.
You know, it's funny you bring that up, John, because in Syracuse, 2 years in a row, we haven't gotten a single foul ball in our booth, if you can believe that. We're right behind the plate at PNC Stadium.
It might be Dave then. I guess it's not you, Ted.
Well, I know I couldn't hit, so maybe they figured, let's check out his hands and see if he can catch it.
Well, we have a routine here in Las Vegas up in the booth. We have the duck and cover. You just got to decide which one of you is going to duck and which one's going to cover.
I'm ducking.
You're on the spot, Dave.
I'm leaving.
Soup has the good hands. Jeff Datz has done a great job in his first season as Bison's manager. His 5th season as a skipper in the Indians farm system, his first at the AAA level last year. He was in Akron, Ohio, and the Arrows had a tough year. They went 51-90, but this year, Datz has been the man in Buffalo.
Well, you know what happened. Datz got a lot smarter this year.
That must be it.
Every manager in the world will tell you they're a lot smarter when they have better players. What did Whitey Herzog used to say? Give me a sense of humor and a great bullpen, and I'll show you a good manager.
Lance Berkman at the plate against lefty Mike Matthews, trying to get untracked here in postseason play. 4 for 35 since the end of the regular season, but he has a ton of talent. And we may see it on display later in the ball game. 2nd strikeout for Matthews.
Well, Matthews has got it all going right now, mixing the fastball and the breaking ball, locating well. This was the breaking ball. Good movement down. A little tight spin on the slider. So he's retired 5 in a row. He's doing his John Halama impersonation. Halama, 4-hitter last night, struck out 9, walked 2 for the Zephyrs. Tonight it's the lefty Matthews, impressive early.
At this level, at AAA, very few teams have more than 1 left-handed starter. So during the regular season, teams don't get the chance to face left-handers all that often. I think when they see a lefty, it's a real change of pace.
But you're also seeing contrasting styles between last night. Halama, a master of the off-speed and locating. Matthews has great stuff, but he also has good command tonight. Halama has that all the time. When Matthews gets this kind of command consistently, he's going to be pitching in Cleveland.
Pop up Shallow right field off the bat of Mike Neal, drifting back to put it away and end the inning. Torey Lovolo, and Mike Matthews has set down 6 New Orleans Zephyrs in a row. Bottom of the second on the way from Las Vegas. Another enthusiastic crowd on hand here at Cashman Field in Las Vegas for Game 2 of this best-of-5 AAA World Series, the first of 3 annual matchups between the IL and PCL champions. Scott Morgan leads off the second. Morgan hitless last night in his first action of postseason play with Buffalo this year.
Well, if you want to check out what's going on in AAA baseball, the AAA World Series, www.com AAAWorldSeries.com. And they'll have in-game box scores, information about this game. So if you're sitting near a computer, have fun.
Should be an easy play for Hernandez, and it is. Scott Morgan retired to begin the second. A big college football Saturday ahead on ESPN and ESPN2. It all begins with College Game Day at 11 a.m. Northwestern takes on Wisconsin at noon Eastern on ESPN. And here on the Deuce, Pittsburgh takes on Virginia Tech noon Eastern time. Then Georgia Tech will meet North Carolina at 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN. And on ESPN2 at 6 Eastern, it'll be 22nd ranked Alabama meeting Arkansas. All the action right here on ESPN and ESPN2 this weekend. Big Saturday ahead. Steven Solis with a tapper to third. Neal is tested in place of Truby, and he makes the play.
Could be a football-baseball doubleheader if the series goes 5 games. We would be on at 11 Eastern on Saturday. Here comes Neal. Of course, we saw the great work by Chris Truby last night defensively. He injured his wrist, not playing tonight, but Neal makes a fine play. He's out of LSU, so a little Cajun boy playing for the hometown New Orleans Zephyrs.
Must be a lot of fun playing for the Zephyrs down in New Orleans after playing college ball at LSU for the Bayou Bengals. Here's Holbert Cabrera for the second time, hit by a pitch leading off the bottom of the first. He came around to score on the 2-run single by Phil Hyatt. Holbert hits it a long way to center field, but the wall is 433 feet away, and he'll have to hit it deeper than that to get it out here at Cashman Field. We'll head to the third. The Bisons have a 2-run lead here on ESPN2. The unmistakable skyline of Las Vegas, Nevada. Come on out and see us. Dave and I are hoping for a 5-game series. Wouldn't mind spending the week here at Cashman Field.
A lot of great sporting events coming up. December 19th, the Las Vegas Bowl. That'll be televised on ESPN as well. And then a basketball doubleheader at Thomas and Mack that night, featuring the Arizona Wildcats and Lute Olson. They call it the entertainment capital of the world, and I'm not going to dispute it.
I believe it. After spending a couple of hours by the pool today, that was fun. And that foul ball was headed our way thanks to that screen behind the plate. We didn't have a chance to make a play on it.
I'm bringing a glove for Thursday.
Sounds like a good idea. Chad Alexander hitless in postseason play for the Zephyrs. We saw him late in last night's ball game. As a pinch hitter, he went 0 for 1 and stayed in the game to play right field. He's in the hole against lefty Mike Matthews. 0-2, and Matthews has been brilliant so far. He's set down all 6 Zephyrs he's faced.
Throwing strikes, mixing speeds, and throwing hard. Pretty good combination.
Just what the Bisons needed here in Game 2 tonight. Bouncing ball taken deep in the hole by Cabrera. His throw not in time. Holbert Cabrera has excellent range, but that was a tough chance for any shortstop.
Yeah, even the great Omar Vizquel, who plays ahead of Cabrera in Cleveland, would have had trouble throwing anybody out of this one. He went and ranged a long ways to get it. But once you've extended yourself and that far in the hole, you'd need a 30-06 to throw somebody out on that one. Got to hope for a slow-running catcher or something in that situation.
Former International League star Derek Jeter made a play like that with the Yankees last night.
On Vizquel. I'm sure Omar probably tipped his cap, although he said he didn't need to take that hit away from him.
It was incredible. ranging well into that shortstop hole, and he made a leaping throw to first on the money, a bullet. Mark Ronan had a big night last night in game 1 of this series. 3 for 4, 2 runs batted in. Gets a piece of that pitch from the lefty Matthews, strike 1.
Matthews continues to throw the most important pitch in baseball, strike 1, and with good stuff.
Ronan has done the job in postseason play. The Astros have a terrific young catcher in Mitch Molluski, who spent most of the season in New Orleans. He hit .353.
When we talk about, sometimes guys get called to the big leagues, that's looking at it as a cup half empty. There are certainly some guys in this game that are getting an opportunity. And we see what Ronan's done in postseason, replacing Molluski. Certainly Russell Branyan getting the opportunity, hit a big home run for Buffalo last night. A lot of guys getting opportunities. In fact, Matthews, with Hakami and Eddie Priest going to the big leagues, I don't know if Matthews would have pitched in this series. Probably would have, but I don't know if he'd have been the number 2 starter.
Ronan in an 0-2 hole, trying to battle his way out of that. Molluski now with the Astros. He played 121 games with the Zephyrs. He hit .353, third in the PCL, traditionally known as a hitter's league. He ripped 41 doubles, hit 17 home runs, and drove in 71 runs. Ronan has become the starting catcher for New Orleans. Molluski promoted to Houston back on August 30th. Matthews has a decent move to first. Alexander wasn't fooled by it. But like we saw with John Halama last night, probably not Matthews' A move there.
Sometimes you keep that for a special time. Not a real running situation here.
Skips away from the catcher, Solis. Ricochets in the dirt. That'll be a wild pitch. Charge to Mike Matthews. Alexander takes second, and it's 2-2 to Mark Ronan.
Well, let's check out the location. Solis can't backhand that ball. Steve tried to backhand it. He's got to drop down to let that ball hit off his chest protector.
Solis, much like Ronan, called on to become the starting catcher when Einar Diaz, who had a terrific season with Buffalo, was promoted to the parent Indians. Sandy Alomar Jr. resting a bad knee down the stretch. So Diaz is getting some playing time. The Zephyrs have their first man in scoring position tonight against lefty Mike Matthews. Alexander led off with a single to the shortstop hole. He's at second after the wild pitch. Hot smash through the box into center field. Alexander will be held at third as Jacob Cruz fires in.
Well, all of a sudden the Zephyrs coming to life. They were held in check the first 2 innings. A scratch infield single got him going. Then the wild pitch, and then Ronan, who continues to swing a hot bat. 4 for 5 in the series. Single solidly to center.
Hitting coach Al Padrique coaching at third. Put up the stop sign, playing it conservatively.
Matthews just got the leg out of the way on that one. Just to catch you up on a little bit of major league action, the Cubs and Mets are now tied for the wild card. Chicago won. Sosa did not homer. The Mets lost. McGuire did not homer in the Cardinal victory. That race of interest, and of course we'll keep an eye on Texas and Anaheim tonight as well.
Julio Lugo at the plate, men at the corners, nobody out. Matthews throwing hard, but he misses the zone to Lugo. He hasn't been swinging a heavy bat in postseason play, but he does make the plays at short for the Zephyrs. New Orleans and Buffalo, members of the American Association last season. Before that league was dissolved, and 3 teams went to the International League and 5 went to the Pacific Coast League.
Well, the veteran Jeff Mano immediately called time. He's coming in to settle down young Matthews, and this is a good veteran move. He's also talking to Solis. Jeff like the captain of the infield out there. Lugo's another guy who got an opportunity. Carlos Guillen, the shortstop of the Zephyrs, was part of the Randy Johnson trade going up to the Seattle Mariners. He actually was playing second base before he hurt his knee. So Lugo, another guy that's getting an opportunity because of a call-up or a trade.
Matthews trying to make the early lead stand up. Lugo gets a piece of that. 2-1 the count.
I'm sure Manto probably came in seeing Matthews' stuff, probably said, hey, Mike, you got great stuff tonight, but you got to throw strikes. Let's let the defense do some work, throw a ground ball. We'll turn 2 here. Sometimes just a little bit, get that pitcher back in focus. Once in a while, the pitcher starts to struggle a little bit, and they lose focus of what's going on.
Manto racks up a lot of frequent flyer miles from first base to home plate. He does that quite a bit. Taylor-made double play ball. And the Bisons turn 2. That gets the run home from third. Chad Alexander scores to make it 2-1 Buffalo.
I don't know if you noticed it, but when Mano caught that ball, he immediately pointed to Matthews and said, that's what I'm talking about. Get the ground ball. We'll turn 2. Here's the shot up the middle. Lovello gives Colbert a good feed. And Mano. See? That's what I'm talking about.
The game within the game. Jeff Manto, very experienced. Big play for Buffalo, even though the Bisons give up the first run to the Zephyrs. 2 men away, base is empty. At the top of the order, New Orleans, Carlos Hernandez.
Yeah, the great pitchers are the ones who, no matter what the situation is, are totally able to focus on that catcher and kind of get in that zone there. But a lot of times pitchers lose focus. They start thinking about base runners, etc.
Branyan makes a nice play. Low throw. Manto with the squeeze. That ends it. Russell Branyan fields the hot smash at third, and that will do it for the Zephyrs in the third. But New Orleans on the board with the double play. Alexander scoring from third. 2-1 Buffalo. Bird Zerk continues to put on the show here at Cashman Field in Las Vegas. Game 2 of the inaugural AAA World Series. Can we show that on TV? The IL and PCL champions matching up. The Buffalo Bisons have a 2-1 lead as we head to the home half of the third. Bird Zerk making friends wherever he goes.
Everybody comes to the ballpark for a different reason.
Torey Lovullo wants to hit. And now Bird Zerk heads off the field. At this rate, we'll be here all night.
Yeah, well, Frank Desmond's just telling Torey, hey, you're in the entertainment capital of the world. Cool your jets. We got to wait till Bird Zerk's done.
Lovullo signaled and scored in the Bison's 2-run first. 1 for 1 tonight. He's a switch hitter, batting from the right side.
No, that was a key play in the ball game so far. Chad Alexander and Casey Gandel letting that routine fly drop. Each one thought the other guy had it and just kind of fell aimlessly into a gap in right center field.
Fortunately for Buffalo, they capitalized on that break. Bisons needed a change in luck, and they got it.
Did bring back a fond memory of mine. Back a couple of thousand years ago, we won the national championship in college in the same type of play. We had a pitcher hit a fly ball to right center field. They each looked at each other. It dropped. We scored 2 and 1 in the 15th inning.
They play the victors after that?
I think so. We had to get them out in the bottom of the 15th. They've got a little tense.
One of the great fight songs of all time. Heck of a play by Neal. He gets up and throws out Torey Lovullo. Chris who?
I tell you what, third base has produced 5 spectacular plays for the Zephyrs in the last 2 nights. Terrific play by Mike Neal right there. It was Chris Truby last night, and Neal gets congratulations from Julio Lugo.
We talked about this last night. Pitching and defense, the backbone of these teams. They hit the ball well during the regular season, but you can't go out every night and expect to outscore everybody you play. You have to execute defensively and with the pitching to make it this deep into postseason play.
Well, there's a couple of teams that have found that out the last couple of years. The Colorado Rockies always have the great offense, and the Seattle Mariners, you got to have the pitching and D.
Jacob Cruz struggling in this series. He had a tremendous regular season. Has a lot of promise at the plate. but he is 0 for 2 tonight. And now Cruz is 0 for 6 in the series.
So Hernandez, he has very good actions at second base. Very smooth with a glove. I know some of the people in Las Vegas were a little concerned about the field because they had a Metallica concert here a week ago, but the field has played very true, and we've had outstanding defense to this point in the series.
Did you enjoy that show?
No. That's where Metallica did some damage. The fans were allowed on the field, but the infield has played very well.
Manto walked in the first. Jeff, one of the key members of this Bisons ball club, the last 2 seasons, spent some time in the majors with Cleveland, both this season and last. And this one is blasted to center field, drifting back to watch it. Ricochet off the fence is Casey Candell. Jeff Manto pulls in at second with a 2-out double to straightaway center.
You know, Jeff got full extension. He had a pitch like that in the first inning that he fouled back, but he didn't miss this one. It was up in his wheelhouse, and he whacked it over the center fielder, Candell. Watch the location of the pitch. High fastball out over the plate to a high ball hitter. And at about 86 miles an hour, that's not going to get Manto out.
The wind is blowing out to straightaway center field, whipping around a little bit to left center as well. You really have to jack it to get it out here at Cashman Field to straightaway center field. It's 433 feet from home plate to that left or that center field wall. Very few baseball parks these days have a center field fence that far away.
Well, right there with that additional blue sign, it's 22 feet high. The rest of the fence around the ballpark 20 feet high. So you've got to get some elevation on the ball too.
Phil Hyatt cranked a 2-run single in the first to give the Bisons their first lead of this AAA World Series. That was on a 1-2 pitch back in the first, and once again Hyatt is in a hole. This time it's 0-2. Still looking to come alive with the bat in postseason play with Buffalo. Manto at second after his 2-out double. Little miscommunication at short, and as a result Hyatt beats it out. Lugo took it, and the throw didn't make it to first in time to get Hyatt. So the Bisons have men at the corners with 2 down.
Well, this is like a screenshot in hockey. The third baseman, Mike Neal, is going to cut over. It looked like he was going to get there. Watch Lugo. He gets screened not only by the third baseman, but by the runner. And then they said Darrell Ward came off the base, trying to cheat just a little bit. And the first base umpire, Mark Facto, said safe. So the Bisons still have a rally going here in the bottom of the third.
Hyatt's 2 for 2, an infield single on that play.
So it took great reflexes by Lugo just to catch the ball. He got shielded by 2 guys.
Russell Branyan popped to second in the first. He spins the first pitch foul. Now, isn't it usually the case where the third baseman takes any ball he can get to his left?
Yeah, and I think what happened, though, is Neal realized he wasn't going to get it. And one of the plays you see now and then is a third baseman or a first baseman reaching for that ball, and it just ticks off their glove, and then that messes up everything because then the ball ends up in the outfield. It's usually a double for the hitter. I think Neal just felt he couldn't get it.
Branyan with a poke down the right field line. Manto will come in to score. Hyatt on his way to third. He'll be held there. An RBI double for Russell Branyan, and the Bisons take a 3-1 lead. Good piece of hitting by the young third baseman.
Well, Branyan hung in on the breaking ball that time and ripped it down the first base line. So a couple of key plays in the game. The ball that dropped in right center field and the little ground balls kept the inning alive, and Branyan takes advantage of it with a rope into the right field corner. Good job by Alexander to get the ball back in to make sure that Hyatt didn't score from first base.
3 ribbies for Branyan in this series now, and the Bisons get the run they lost in the top of the third. Right back, they have that 2-run lead intact again. James Betzold popped to center in the first. He took a cut at the first pitch thrown by lefty Derek Root, once again in trouble. 2 men in scoring position for Betzold.
By the way, they scored that ball of Hyatt's an infield hit. So in theory, we still have not had an error in the series. That one could have gone either way. Throw pulled the man off, but it was a tough play for Lugo.
3 hits in a row for Buffalo, including that one off the bat of Hyatt. And the Bisons have a 3-1 lead. Betzold with a rip to left field. Base hit. Hyatt scores. Branyan comes around from second. Betzold stuck between first and second, but he does the job, plating both runners with that single to left field. Bisons in the driver's seat as the 3rd inning comes to an end. A 4-run bulge. We'll head to the 4th in Las Vegas after this.
Well, kind of interesting on that play. It looked like Jim Bechtold might have made a base running mistake, but remember, Russ Branyan's running all the way from first base. Berkman gets it back into Carlos Hernandez, and meanwhile, Branyan's coming around to score. Hernandez never looked, and all Bechtold did is stay in the rundown long enough for this run to score. So maybe a little bit of a good piece of base running by Bechtold to allow that extra run to score in the inning.
And this is the Buffalo Bisons team we expected to see. 5 runs in the first 3 innings. They led the International League in hitting in 1998 during the regular year, and they clubbed more than 200 home runs as a team. One of the top totals ever in International League history for the Bisons this season. 206 home runs.
Anytime you can buy a run by getting in a pickle between first and second with 2 outs, you're going to take a chance on it, especially with the bottom of the order coming up. We'll talk to Bechtold after the game and see if he really did make a good base running play or he got caught betwixt and between.
Candel struck out swinging back in the 1st, and he's down to Mike Matthews again. 1-2.
But again, Hernandez was so focused on Bechtold, he never looked at the plate while Branyan was coming all the way around from first base.
Matthews does an excellent job of protecting the lead. He's done that quite often this season for the Bisons, and with a 4-run advantage, he will zero in on the strike zone. Candel trying to get something started, top of the 4th. The Zephyrs won game 1 of this best-of-5 series last night, 7-2. The Bisons trying to even things up with an off day coming up tomorrow.
You know, you can do a lot of things with statistics, but one of the ones that always stands out for me is when a pitcher gets 2 strikes on a hitter, no matter what the count, 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, or 3-2, the composite batting average throughout a course of a season is 187. So Matthews has had 2 strikes on a lot of hitters, and it usually puts hitters on the defensive. They're not as aggressive. They're just trying to make contact.
Good eye by Candel. That runs the count full. You may be familiar with Casey Candel's story. His mother played professional baseball. So baseball, a way of life in the Candel household. And certainly the movie A League of Their Own, a big hit as well. Jeff Manto ranging into foul ground to make the grab. We'll send it downstairs to John Sandler. Actually, John might be upstairs with a special guest. John, take it away.
Thank you very much, Ted. With Marty Barrett, former Boston Red Sox great. Marty, you played Little League ball here. You played your high school ball here. Marty Barrett, baseball, Las Vegas, kind of synonymous with one another. You live here, and this has got to be a big event for you.
Well, this is a nice event. You know, the city of Las Vegas does a great job of promoting itself and bringing a lot of events. And, of course, I have a fondness for baseball. And anytime they can bring any type of baseball here, like this AAA World Series or the big league games during spring training, I think it's great for the city, great for the kids. I think baseball is a great game. And I think this whole McGuire-Sosa thing has really put it on the map again. And as long as it's keeping kids off the streets on a ball field, I'm all for it.
All right, Marty. Well, thanks for being with us. Enjoy yourself. It's great to see one of the great ambassadors of baseball here in Southern Nevada with us at the ballpark tonight. Ted, Dave, back to you.
John, thanks a lot. All Manto all the time.
Yeah, Darrell Ward hit this ball like a bullet, but Manto was able to grab it. Marty Barrett, great World Series for the Red Sox back in 1986. I think he had something like 13 hits, tied a record for most hits in a World Series. I'm sure Red Sox remember Barrett's pluses fondly, maybe not the way that series turned out.
Definitely not.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You're a New Englander.
Here's Paul Russo. He grounded to short leading off the 2nd.
Well, I got some good news for you. Your beloved Sox won tonight. So did Toronto. So they still say 3.5 games ahead in the wild card in the American League.
Until the Red Sox clinch that wild card, assuring that Toronto is out of it, fans in Red Sox Nation in New England can't rest just yet. Russo 0 for 16 in the postseason. He's overdue to get on base with a base hit, and he may have a chance here up in the count 3-0. Russo taking all the way. So it's a hitter's count, 3-1. Up foul off to the right. A long run for Jeff Manto and James Betzold. Neither has a play, so count runs full to Russo.
Got a kick out of Jeff on that one foul ball he caught. He learned from yesterday how that wind blows here. He dropped the pop-up yesterday. It was the infield fly rule, so he got away unscathed. But he also realized once that ball gets near the stands with that breeze blowing from the stands out towards the outfield, it's going to come back.
We learned that as well last night. Very interesting wind patterns here at Cashman Field in Las Vegas, and the ball does fly out of here. We've seen that with the 3 home runs last night, including this one belted off the fence in deep left center field. Russo still running. He will stop at second with a 2-out double blasted to left center.
Russo finally gets off the schneid, gets a hit in postseason. Morgan gave it a great shot. Big 6'7" outfielder got there and reached, but those minor league outfield walls aren't quite as cushy as some of the ones in the major leagues with that padding, and you got to beware of your body as well.
Sometimes if you make a dazzling play up against a fence in the deep outfield, you pay for it with a separated shoulder.
I can remember playing center field in Chattanooga with a concrete fence. I'd get to that warning track, and you talk about a guy that kind of got the short arms. I recall that not so fondly. Like a wide receiver coming over the middle.
Russo at second base after the 2-out double. Lance Berkman struck out swinging in the second. Takes a rip at the first pitch. That's why they call it a warning track, Dave.
Well, I heated it.
Berkman scuffling along. 4 for 36 in postseason play. Had a standout career at Rice. Switch hitter with excellent power.
I'm trying to think of the outfielder. Of course, that famous video that ran right through the fence. You got his name off the top of your hat?
I don't. I can visualize the play, though.
Well, just another activity here.
They'd take care of you here in Las Vegas.
You go to a spa here, you can pay $60 to have that done.
We know a few places that would take care of you for that. Matthews throwing pretty hard.
Good idea by Solis. Come in hard. That sets up something soft away, maybe a breaking ball. What you do when you come inside is to try to tell that hitter you got to speed up your bat to hit that pitch. See if he comes with slider here.
Berkman fists it foul.
Came the slider, hit him on the fist. Bergman was able to fight it off. So Lance, he had an excellent year in Double-A ball this year at Jackson. Since the postseason started, though, he has been struggling. A little bit loopy in his swing right now. It's one of the things I never realized till I started talking to some guys that were good switch hitters, and they said, you know, it's tough enough to keep one side in sync, but sometimes if you go into a slump on both sides of the plate, your head really starts spinning.
It's amazing the guys who have mastered switch hitting that have been able to hit consistently from both sides of the plate. It's hard enough to hit a baseball at this level and at the major league level from one side of the plate, let alone both sides. It's really an incredible feat. Paul Russo stands at second after his 2-out double off the left center field fence. Lance Berkman trying to get him home. Count runs full.
Well, Berkman's battled back from an 0-2 count, fought off one pitch, has been able to take and get a count a little more favorable for an offensive player. Zephyrs have got to start pecking away at this lead. See the number of pitches for Matthews. He has struggled a little bit here in the 4th inning.
Berkman, baby-faced young slugger. Payoff pitch on the way. Berkman comes through in the clutch. Stopping at third is Russo, and Berkman is stuck in a rundown. Jeff Manto watching the runner. Here comes Holbert Cabrera, and he makes the tag in time.
And the run does not count. The run was coming to the plate. Cabrera and Manto very aware of that situation as opposed to Hernandez last inning. Berkman made a mistake. Manto and Cabrera executed perfectly, and Cabrera dives for the runner because he knows the other runner's heading to the plate. Good call by the home plate umpire, Joe Desler.
Great play by Cabrera to make that tag before the run scored. Here's what we're playing for this week in Las Vegas. The inaugural AAA World Series continues after.
Well, what a terrific play executed by Buffalo here. Line drive to right field. Right fielder James Betzel comes in. You see the runner coming around third, Russo. It's cut off by Manto. Berkman makes the wide turn around first. Now they have him in a pickle. You see Betzel, you see the runner going to the plate, but look at Holbert Cabrera. Look at that runner at the plate and make the tag, and the run just barely had not scored. That was great work by the Bisons.
Paul Russo had no intentions of trying to score on that play. He had stopped at third, playing it safe.
Yeah.
Berkman made a mistake, came too far around first base, and then Russo took a shot at coming home. But as you said, Dave, a great play by Holbert Cabrera. He was watching Russo all the way.
Well, the Zephyrs have made 3 mistakes tonight, and it's cost them some runs on both sides of the baseball.
Scott Morgan leads off the home half of the 4th for the Bisons, trying to add to their lead.
They had the missed fly ball in right center that dropped, the extra run that they got by executing a rundown, and the one they lost by getting caught in a rundown.
One hopper to the second baseman Hernandez, and Morgan is retired for the second time, 4-3.
People that watch baseball for many years say that when you get to postseason and championship series, more close games are won or lost by good or bad base running than any other single factor. And generally, you lose more games by bad play than you win by good play.
The Zephyrs have made their share of mistakes in this ball game. Still in the early going, bottom of the 4th. Steve Solis hitting for the second time. He bounced to third back in the 2nd. Solis, the primary catcher for the Bisons ever since Einar Diaz went up to Cleveland, and Diaz has played well since joining the Indians. Some activity in the bullpen for the New Orleans Zephyrs. Johan Lopez getting loose. Solis didn't play much during the regular season at all, but in postseason play, he backstopped the Bisons to the International League Championship, otherwise known as the Governor's Cup. You won one of those in your day, Dave.
Well, not by myself. I had a lot of help with my Toledo teammates, but 1967, we ended up beating Columbus in the finals of that. We didn't win the league championship that year, but won the playoffs. These teams, the winning team gets $2,000 per man, the losers $1,000, and also the winning team will have a ring allowance. So something certainly to play for here.
And they're hoping for a 5-game series, just as we are, because the more games you play this week, the more per diems you get. And the per diem for this week in Las Vegas is Quite a jump for these players compared to the regular season. They're having a good time this week, and they're being well taken care of by the folks here with the LVCVA here in Las Vegas. Solis staying alive. Steve Solis from Los Angeles. Great to have so many fans in Buffalo and New Orleans staying up late with us tonight here on ESPN2. The Bisons have some great fans. They've led all of minor league baseball in attendance for the last 11 years. And New Orleans set a new franchise record for attendance this season down at their new ballpark, Zephyr Field. So both of these teams are very well supported by their hometown fans.
Zephyr Field gets a lot of action also. LSU has played some games there. Tulane University, the University of New Orleans, is also home to the New Orleans Storm, a soccer team. So a lot of activity at Zephyr Field out in Metairie, Louisiana.
Lefty Derek Root has been knocked around. The Bisons have reached him for 6 hits. Solis again, spoiling pitch, and the count stays full. As we mentioned earlier in tonight's telecast, Root originally drafted as a first baseman. Didn't hit well, so he was moved to the mound, and he's moved up the Astros chain rapidly. Another chance for third baseman Neal, and he comes through.
Maybe hoping to follow in the footsteps of another guy pitching with the Red Sox, Tim Wakefield, who was drafted as a first baseman and then switched over to pitching and developed the knuckleball. So Neal has done a terrific job at third base for the Zephyrs tonight, filling in for Chris Truby. Defense at third has not been the problem for the Zephyrs in this series.
Bison's leadoff man, Holbert Cabrera, hitting for the third time. Hit by a pitch back in the first, and he came around to score. He then flew to center in the second. The absence of Truby hurts New Orleans offensively a great deal. He had been crushing the ball in postseason play for the Zephyrs, hitting .457, 16 for 35. 3 doubles, a triple, and 3 ribbies. Cabrera ahead in the count, 2-0. For the lefty, Derek Root. International League All-Star Holbert Cabrera, one of 3 postseason selections for the Buffalo Bisons. Catcher Einar Diaz and outfielder Alex Ramirez on the team as well. Zephyrs with an eye on that scoreboard. They're down 4 runs. Cabrera up in the count, 3-1 now.
Well, Cabrera trying to change the luck tonight. He's got the pant legs pulled up. Ball players' tendency to be just a little superstitious.
Just a tad. Certainly weren't the same socks he wore last night when the Bisons lost. Drifting back to make the play, Alexander. And Derek Root has a 1-2-3 inning, setting down the Bisons in the 4th. We'll head to the 5th. Buffalo on top here in Game 2 in Las Vegas.
Back here at beautiful Cashman Field in Las Vegas, 5-1 the score in favor of the Buffalo Bisons. Upstairs, high above beautiful Cashman Field, I'm with the man, the king. He is the president of the National Association of Professional Baseball Leagues. He runs all of minor league baseball, and this is the crown jewel of minor league baseball, the AAA World Series. Mike Moore, great to have you here in Las Vegas.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. This is what we had in mind when we realigned the AAA leagues into 2 leagues, and now we've got it. I think it's great for baseball, great for the fans, and thanks to the great people in Las Vegas, it's a reality now.
Well, as I said, the crown jewel of minor league baseball, the AAA World Series, this is only the beginning. There's a great future in store for this event.
Absolutely. It gives the people a chance to see the best in minor league baseball. Guys are going to be the stars in the major leagues of tomorrow. So it's going to be a wonderful event. We got 3 straight years here in Vegas lined up already. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, Mike, thanks for being with us. Let's enjoy the rest of the game.
Right.
Back upstairs to Ted and Dave.
John, thanks. And Mike Moore, like a proud papa this week here in Las Vegas, along with IL President Randy Mobley and Branch Rickey of the Pacific Coast League. Mike Neal pops up to shallow left field, and drifting back to put it away, Holbert Cabrera. One gone, top of the 5th.
Well, what a week here. All the AAA teams are having their league meetings during this week, minor league marketing meetings during the week, so it's really a festive attitude. I've met an awful lot of AAA executives, and I'm still working on getting all the names straight.
We couldn't ask for better weather either.
It's been absolutely beautiful.
It has been perfect. Not too hot. Not a cloud in the sky earlier today. Chad Alexander singled, went to second on a wild pitch thrown by Matthews, and came around to score the only Zephyrs run back in the 3rd. Matthews looks good. He's limited New Orleans to 4 hits and just the single run. Matthews trying to come back all the way from rotator cuff surgery several years ago, and he has done a fine job for Buffalo this year. Similar play, this time to right field, as Torey Lovullo makes the grab. Quickly, 2 men gone, top of the 5th for New Orleans. Coming up on ESPN, Wednesday Night Baseball, 8 Eastern time. The Astros take on the Cardinals. Mark McGwire trying to add to his record home run total. Then at 10:30 Eastern time, Game 2 of the doubleheader. The Rangers take on the Angels immediately following Game 1. Then on the Deuce, ESPN 2, Wednesday Night Baseball. The Expos meet the Mets at 7:30 Eastern time. Then the Athletics take on the Mariners at 10:30 Eastern. All of that coming up tomorrow here on ESPN 2 and ESPN. And Dave, you are on your way to Seattle first thing tomorrow morning.
Got the Mariners and the A's tomorrow night. Mike Oakquist is pitching against Ken Cloud, so get to visit the Kingdom. Junior hit number 54 tonight. Alex Rodriguez number 41.
Mark Ronan with a bouncing ball to the right side. Another chance for Torey Lovullo, and another 1-2-3 inning for left-hander Mike Matthews, his first since retiring, the first 6 men he faced in the ball game. Bottom of the 5th on the way. Bisons on top. Fans of all shapes and sizes and ages here at Cashman Field in Las Vegas. The youngsters out, and they'll get a chance to see Johan Lopez pitch in relief of left-hander Derek Root.
First time we've seen a right-hander for the Zephyrs in the series. John Halama, the lefty, went 9 strong innings last night. So I'm sure a couple of the left-handed batters will be happy to see somebody from this side.
Lopez went undefeated as a reliever, going 5-0 with a 5.37 ERA for the Zephyrs here in 1998. His first test, Torey Lovullo, switch hitter, batting from the left side for the first time tonight. Against Root, he singled and scored in the first and grounded to third in the 3rd. And he gives it a ride to deep left center field. This one's off the base of the wall as well. It rattles around in deep center field, and Lovullo is able to motor all the way to third with a leadoff triple.
Well, Torey put a charge in that one. He's hit well over 130 home runs in his minor league career. Casey Candell gave it a heck of a chase. May have banged his hand into the wall, but Lovullo removing that elbow guard. Lopez gets a fastball up and out over the plate, and Lovullo goes the other way with it. Casey giving it a great chase. Isn't going to get there. Let's see if he jams a hand. Yeah, he stuck that left hand right into the wall to brace. And Lovullo knows that's a triple all the way. You don't need the third base coach when the ball's in front of you. You make that determination, especially a veteran player like Torey.
That's a hard fence out in that outfield. Jacob Cruz trying to break through for the Bisons in this series. 0 for 2 tonight, 0 for 6 in the series. Lovullo with 4 triples during the regular season for the Bisons. He's at third after opening the 5th with a 3-bagger, and Cruz got under this one. Lovullo will tag, and he may have a chance to come home. And he will race home on the sacrifice fly off the bat of Jacob Cruz. So Cruz doesn't come through with a hit, but he gets the run home, which is more important. And the Bisons take a 5-run lead.
Well, they're out in front comfortably right now. Lavello gets congratulations from Cruz and vice versa for delivering the sacrifice fly. Jeff Datz, the manager, also has a couple of moves available over on the bench. Some left-handed batters he might like to get a couple of at-bats in the game, especially Bill Selby and David Miller, maybe Dave Roberts, as they have done some platooning in the outfield. We'll see when the right-handed batter Betzel comes up if maybe Datz might make a move.
So it took the Bisons exactly 2 hitters to get a run home against Lopez and increase the lead to 6-1.
They'll see a right-hander, Bob Scanlon, in Game 3 on Thursday, and I'm sure Datz would like to get those guys a couple of at-bats so they don't have to go all the way from the past Saturday to this coming Thursday without having any plate appearances.
Manto with a big cut on the breaking ball from Lopez. 6'2", 170 pounds, from Venezuela. 23 years old. A shade outside, 2-1 the count to Jeff Manto.
Well, we've talked about it over the last 2 days. The players that have come out of the Venezuelan Academy that the Astros opened a few years back. Not only have they produced some players at the major league level, but a lot of guys they've been able to trade for stars. We talked about the Randy Johnson deal with Guillen and Freddie Garcia going over there, but as Jerry Hunsaker pointed out to me yesterday, they traded Oscar Henriquez and Manuel Barrios to Florida to get Moises Alou. So sometimes those academies pay off not only at your own organization, but to trade for other stars.
Alou having a fantastic season for the Astros. Houston looking toward postseason play, as is Cleveland. The Indians, the parent club of the Bisons. The Astros and Indians have clinched their respective Central divisions, and they're heading to postseason play. Payoff pitch, and Manto thought he had ball 4.
Number 12, Joe.
Well, good job by Ronan on that one of framing the ball, keeping the elbow into the inside and putting the glove back over the inside corner. Jeff didn't like the call, but sometimes a catcher can help by a call for his pitcher with a good framing job.
First time Manto has been retired tonight. High fly ball off the bat of Phil Hyatt. Alexander squeezes in right, and that ends the 5th inning. But the Bisons get another run. Buffalo extending its lead in the home half of the 5th. The Bisons with a 6-1 edge as we go to the 6th in Las Vegas.
Last night it was the Zephyrs with a great defense. Buffalo tonight, Matthews in trouble in the 3rd. 1st and 3rd, nobody out, gets the big double play. Russ Branius smothers a hot shot off the bat of Carlos Hernandez to end that 3rd inning. Then in the 4th, Lance Berkman gets a base hit to right field, but you see him round first base. Mano in the perfect cutoff position with the second baseman covering first, and Holbert Carrero dives and tags out Berkman before Paul Russo can score. So it's been the Bison defense tonight that's been on target.
And when Mike Matthews keeps the ball down in the zone, he has had success, and he's used that recipe along with the terrific defense behind him to pick up a 6-1 lead as we head to the 6th. Julio Lugo leads off the inning. He bounced into a 4-6-3 double play back in the 3rd. This is the 2nd postseason start for Mike Matthews. His first outing came in Game 4 of the Governor's Cup Finals against the Durham Bulls. Here's his line tonight. Very effective and efficient. He hasn't thrown an extraordinary amount of pitches in this game.
Yeah, the 0 walks is, I'm sure, what thrills Buddy Black and Jeff Datz over in that Buffalo dugout.
In his last start against the Durham Bulls, in 6 innings, he gave up 3 runs on 6 hits, but he picked up a no decision. Durham Bulls came back to win that ball game 8-7. Lugo retired. And once again, this play is made by the shortstop, Holbert Cabrera. Coming up on ESPN2 Monday, the UHRA Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup Championship Boat Racing. What's the UHRA, you're asking? Unlimited Hydroplane Racing Association, coming up this Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, here on ESPN2. Carlos Carlos Hernandez having a quiet night. Unlike last night, he went 3 for 5 with a run scored and a run batted in.
I'd like to welcome those service personnel all over the world watching on Armed Forces Television tonight. You were with us last night. Hope you're enjoying the AAA World Series.
Line shot to left field by Carlos Hernandez. No question about this one. His first hit tonight and 4th hit of the series. He's now 4 for 8.
Well, we've learned one thing about Hernandez. He's got a very quick bat on inside pitches. He was turning very well last night. Matthews tried to get in on him here. Watch how he gets the arms in a little bit and still gets the barrel of the bat on the ball. That's a good job of hitting by the youngster. Branyan can't climb the stairs for that one.
Looks a little like Ivan Rodriguez. We talked about that a bit last night. Casey Candel, switch hitter, batting against the lefty Mike Matthews. 0 for 2 this evening. Short lead for Hernandez. He did pick up a steal last night.
Well, everything's gone right for the Bisons so far tonight. I'm sure they'd love to see a ground ball and see if Cabrera possibly could turn a double play with Lovello at second.
Matthews makes a move to first.
Case here where you negate Hernandez just a little bit, down by 5 runs. If he's going to go, he's got to be 100% sure he's going to make it. You can't get picked off down 5 runs.
Those 32 steals include the regular season and postseason play. 29 thefts during the regular season for Hernandez, and he's stolen 3 more in postseason play, including 1 last night against Steve Solis. Third base coach Al Pedrique, former Met, also the hitting coach for New Orleans.
He's no stranger to Buffalo, played with the Bisons. Pedrique, a 17-year pro career. A lifer. He's beginning. He's what we call a lifer in the game.
Hernandez continues to sneak away from first. Matthews missing upstairs, 2-1.
One more pitch like that and Mano may be making a visit again. Looked like Matthews tried to overthrow that fastball. Again, he just needs to throw strikes. His stuff is very good tonight.
Candel played with the Buffalo Bisons and the Cleveland Indians last year. Casey gets around late on the 2-1 pitch, evening the count at 2-2. Candel with the Bisons in 1997, appeared in 79 ball games in Buffalo. Hit .228, 7 home runs, 38 ribbies. Played better with the Indians down the stretch. Hit .308 for the Tribe. 4 home runs in 14 ball games. Another move to first by Mike Matthews, and Hernandez hustles back. During the regular season, we told you a moment ago, Hernandez had 29 stolen bases. He was caught 11 times. Solis has done a good job throwing out opposing base runners this year. Candel goes the opposite way and just misses, dropping it in fair down the right field line.
A little tidbit in this game. Scott Morgan, the left fielder for the Bisons tonight, he has something in common with Casey Candel, the hitter. They went to the same high school, Lompoc High in California, 12 years apart. Kind of tells you about AAA also. You got Morgan, the prospect, coming up, and Candel still trying to impress some scouts that he can help a club as a major league utility man.
They don't have body types in common.
Yeah, one's 6'7" and the other one's 5'7".
2-2 to Candel. Foul back to the screen.
Always loved the story about Casey one time. I think he was with the Indians. Don't take that as the gospel, but the story was that sometimes on the charters, even though the flight attendants like to enforce the rules, some of the players get a little goofy. One time they were taking off and Casey got on a food tray in the front of the plane. As the plane was taking off, he slid down the aisle all the way to the back of the plane.
That is against FAA regulations if you're thinking about that next time you're on the plane. And how about that? Morgan drifts back and makes the play on Casey Candel. We'll send it downstairs to John Sandler. John, where are you?
I'm in the third base dugout, Ted. I'm in The Bisons dugout with pitching coach Bud Black. Low pitch count thus far, just around 80 pitches for Mike Matthews, but you got to start planning. What are the thoughts about the bullpen?
Well, first of all, Mike's pitch count is down, and we're going to try to keep him out there as long as we can. But we have Chris Nickdean out there, probably the first guy up, and then after that we'll go with, depends on the situation. We got Jimmy Hamilton left-handed out there to combat a couple of their lefties, and Jason Grimsley and Jeff Sexton will probably be in this game if we still have the lead.
It's got to be nice having a veteran like Jeff Manto, in case your pitcher does begin to wobble a bit, to go out to the mound, settle him down a little bit.
Jeff has a good feel for the game, and he knows exactly what to say in those types of situations. So it's good that we have a guy out there who at times can save us a trip.
Bud Black and Jeff Datz thinking ahead, but they're in control right now, back upstairs.
John, thanks. That's great information, because Jeff Manto is almost like having a pitching coach on the field.
Well, again, and Buddy brought up the fact that it saves a trip for him sometimes. When a pitcher gets in a little bit of trouble, Manto can go out. And then if he starts getting in major trouble, then Black can come out. And what that does also, when you have two guys coming into the mound, one coming from the dugout, that allows that bullpen a little more time to warm up.
And as Buddy Black mentioned, still fresh for the Bisons tonight, their top relievers. Chris Nickdean, Jason Grimsley, Jeff Sexton. They didn't pitch last night, although Jeff Datz brought in 5 relievers in last night's game. He didn't use any of those right-handers because at one point the Bisons were down 7-0, so no reason to burn through the bullpen in game 1 of this series. Ward shooting for the fences. 1-2 the count to Darrell Ward. He hit 2 long 2-run home runs last night. We mean long. 1 to left center going the opposite way, and 1 to right center field.
Well, one thing the Bisons have done ever since he went 3 for 3 against Jason Rakers, every time Ward's been at the plate since, he's seen a left-hander. He does not have a hit against a lefty, but he hit a scorcher to Manto his last time up.
Hernandez still at first, and don't think that Mike Matthews has forgotten about him.
Now, in this situation, again, Hernandez has to be 100% sure he can steal a base, because you got an instant 2 runs standing at home plate with Darrell Ward if he gets a pitch he likes. So you cannot get picked off down 5 runs with your top hitter at the plate.
Along with those very impressive numbers, 6 home runs, 13 ribbies for Ward in the postseason. He blasts the 1-2 to left. Coming in on the ball to squeeze at Morgan. That ends the inning. Another fine piece of pitching by Mike Matthews in the top of the 6th. We'll head to the home half. The Bisons in command here in game 2, looking to even this best of 5 series. Great to have you with us for this ESPN baseball special from Cashman Field in Las Vegas. ESPN 2 tonight for game 2 of the AAA World Series between the Buffalo Bisons and New Orleans Zephyrs. Great to have the general manager of the Astros joining us in the booth now, Jerry Hunsicker. What are your impressions of this series so far? And you couldn't ask for a better setting here in Las Vegas.
Well, I think it's great that the minor leagues can participate in what I think has to be the most exciting month that this game has had in a long time. And it's great to get the exposure for the minor leaguers. They're so important, such an important part of our industry, and they don't get as much exposure as they need to. This is just a great thing.
Jerry, your club has had an absolutely wonderful year. Just missed that 100th victory tonight. Still don't know how the postseason is going to shake out. The Mets lose tonight, the Cubs win, but congratulations on an absolutely terrific year.
Well, it's been a fun year. A lot of things have gone our way, and those of us that make a living in this business know that it doesn't happen very often.
Makes you smile. Darrell Ward, we know he can hit. Makes a fine defensive play right there.
Well, he's a great talent. Everybody knows that he's going to hit. His defense is something that's got to improve, and he's worked hard as he shows some ability here down the line. He's going to be a fine player.
Obviously, the club here in New Orleans this year, you got some help from them. Scott Ellerton's come up and pitched very well for you. Mitch Molesky is a catcher who's dominated the AAA level. You've got young Lance Berkman here, one of your top prospects. So that, and along with that Venezuelan academy, you look like you're pretty well stocked in the minor leagues.
Well, and we're in pretty good shape. We've thinned it out a little bit at the top levels with a couple of these trades. The Moises Alou trade and the Randy Johnson trade hit our system pretty hard, but it's really a tribute to our scouting and player development people that we're still able to put a pretty good product here on the field as they're seeing tonight.
Tell us about the Venezuelan Academy, because you mentioned yesterday to me that those two trades, Johnson and Alou, you used a lot of the products of that academy.
Well, there's no question. Without the Venezuelan Academy and the efforts of Andres Reiner, who heads up that academy, we would not have Moises Alou and Randy Johnson. It's that simple. A lot of the top talent in our system comes through that academy.
Tell us a bit about how the Randy Johnson deal came to pass. I know it's a very long story, Jerry, but that was a real coup before the trade deadline.
Well, it was a real roller coaster ride that day, and about 8:30 that evening, I decided to leave the office. That was the only thing that I was working on, and I really didn't think we had a prayer. I figured when you're up against the likes of the Yankees and the Indians, they wanted him. It was just a matter of how bad they wanted him, and we weren't going to be able to compete. So it wasn't much going on. I went home about an hour before the deadline, still hadn't heard anything from Seattle, and I decided to make another call just to see what was going on. Didn't want to listen on SportsCenter to see who got the big unit, so I gave it one more shot, and the last hour was just unbelievable.
Another chance for Neal at third. He comes in and makes a nice play to get Betzold, 2 men gone.
You know, it's amazing. In an hour, you became a genius.
Yeah. Well, you go from a genius to the village idiot many times, sometimes in the same day in this business.
I know. I was talking about Jeff Datz, the manager of Buffalo last year when he was at Akron. His ball club went 41-90, and then he comes up to AAA. I said, boy, he got smart all of a sudden.
Boy, and how.
As you look to postseason, I mean, I know, you're going to line up the unit to pitch game one with the Braves winning tonight and your club losing. It looks like it's going to take a little miracle for you to get home field advantage, but I know you like your chances.
Well, I think just as important, I think it's important for us to have the home field advantage in that first round. In a 5-game series, if we can open at home, I like our chances against anybody. So right now, we're in second place, and if we can hang on there, it's going to be a big lift for us.
Pinch hitter David Miller at the plate for the Bisons, batting for Scott Morgan. Miller has played well in the postseason, but hasn't had too many at-bats for the Bisons since the end of the regular year.
Jerry, the good news, I thought, this year was that Major League Baseball came up with this concept, the best records get to have the home field advantage. Maybe a little bit on the negative side is sometimes you call up some of the top prospects at the end of the season instead of playing here at this series. That, well, sorry about that. Always start a story with 2 outs, but trying to get that best record, sometimes you hurt the minor leagues just a little.
Well, there's no question about it. It's tough for the people down here to realize that, but we are in business to win at the major league level, and we try to do the best we can. We left as many of the quality kids as possible down here that we didn't think were going to really have an impact at the big league level.
Jerry, great to see you. Thanks for stopping by, and good luck to the Astros in postseason.
Thanks a lot.
Jerry Hunsicker from the Houston Astros joining us here in Las Vegas. We head to the 7th after this. We head to the 7th at Cashman Field in Las Vegas. The Bisons with a 6-1 lead. David Miller, who pinch hit in the bottom of the 6th, stays in the ball game to play center field. It's a fine defensive player, has good range, and moving over to left, Jacob Cruz, as Scott Morgan leaves the ball game. Miller has played a lot of center field for the Bisons this year. Mike Matthews still on the hill as we go to the 7th. He has been impressive. Russo fouls off the first pitch he sees.
Matthews really only had 1 jam, and that was in the 3rd inning. Runners at first and third, nobody out. After a visit by Manto, he got that double play ball and then got a good play by the 3rd baseman Branyan. Got out of the inning with only 1 run allowed, and he's been on cruise control most of the rest of the evening.
As we mentioned earlier, once Mike Matthews gets a sizable lead to work with, he really zeroes in and tries to close it out. Nice play. Made in foul ground way out in right field by James Betzold.
Well, again, that wind only blowing maybe 5 miles an hour, but that ball was in the stands and came back because of that breeze that's pushing from the stands out towards the playing field, and Betzold never gave up on it. Good play.
One of the things about Cashman Field that's rather unique at the AAA level is all the foul territory all the way around. 60 feet of foul territory from foul line to foul line.
You got to do something to help the hitters, because this is, or the pitchers, because this is a pretty good hitter's park.
We are 2,300 feet above sea level, not quite Coors Field in the Mile High City, but the ball certainly flies out here at Cashman Field. We saw 3 long home runs last night. Young slugger Lance Berkman, 1 for 2 tonight, struck out swinging his first trip, singled back in the 4th. Pop up, no play for Steve Solis. About 4 rows into the seats, 1-1 the count to Berkman.
An adult caught the ball, gave it to a child. That was for the ovation.
Here in Las Vegas, you always have to go home with a little something in your pocket. And that youngster will head home with a baseball, a souvenir from this inaugural AAA World Series. The first pitch thrown by lefty John Halama in last night's Game 1 is on its way to Cooperstown for a display in the minor league baseball wing of the Hall of Fame.
Had a chance to visit there and cover that for ESPN this summer again. Great induction ceremonies, and got to spend about 5 hours in the museum. That is a must for baseball fans. You have to go. It's not the easiest place to get to, but just take some time. Beautiful setting. Cooperstown, right on a beautiful lake. It's a pilgrimage baseball fans must take.
Absolutely. Really is beautiful country on Lake Otesaga. And attendance is actually up this year, I believe 7% last I heard. And part of that is due to the home run derby with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa this year. It really has been a great summer for baseball at every level.
It really has. I mean, the major league level has got people excited. I mean, usually at this time of year, if there's a pennant race, you can read about it, but everything else is football. Front pages of the sports pages dominated by the McGwire and Sosa story.
Berkman gives it a poke to right field, and slamming into the wall is Betzel. Berkman stops at second with a long double to right field.
Well, that's the most encouraging sign for the Zephyrs tonight. Berkman, who's been slumping, has hit 2 balls very solidly to right field. Jim Bechtel took on the wall and lost on that one. He's a little shaken up. He's a pretty well-built guy, but boards don't give out there. You're on the warning track, Jim. Slow down, pal. Wall always wins.
He hit this wall very hard.
Yeah, he saw it. It's like the sign at the railroad crossing. If you tie, you lose.
He really drilled it. So Berkman's at second. Lance Berkman 2 for 3 tonight, a good sign. He had been hitting 114 in the postseason coming into tonight. Mike Neal will try to get him home. Neal is 0 for 2 in the game, but he has made several terrific defensive plays at third.
Well, our truck came up with Rodney McRae. That's who it was. They crashed into the wall. That's all. Bigger than McRae, but this wall a little firmer.
That's that famous play we've seen so many times where the player runs right through that wall. Excellent pitch by Mike Matthews, painting the black on the outside corner. Neal has popped to second and popped to short, hasn't gotten the ball out of the infield tonight. He's 0 for 4 in the postseason with New Orleans. The Zephyrs trying to get on the stick late in this ball game. They trail the Bisons. Buffalo hoping to even this best-of-5 series with a win tonight.
Last night we gave you a little minor league trivia. If I'd known it was Tommy Lasorda's birthday, I would have passed along the following story. Back in 1950, he was pitching for Schenectady. 15-inning game he pitched. He struck out 25 and drove in the winning run with a single. So Tommy had a pretty good night in Schenectady that year.
I dare say that's never been repeated.
Of course, Ron Neckdye, the guy in Bluefield in the Appalachian League, once struck out 27 batters in a game. But he didn't strike out everybody because one ball got past the catcher and there was a ground out in the game. And for you Cincinnati Red players listening out there tonight, you can remind Coach Harry Dunlop, who's your third base coach, and he was the catcher that night to let the ball get by him.
But who knocked in the winning run in that game?
I don't know.
A night that Tommy Lasorda will never forget, but he's had many of those, I'm sure. Good stop by the catcher, Steve Solis, to keep it in front. Neal has run the count full. Solis provides steady defense for the Bisons. 5'10", 180 pounds, stocky guy from Ventura, California.
Just for historical record's sake, that was 1948 in Schenectady, not 1950.
Payoff pitch on the way to Neal, and he draws the free pass. John Sandler is downstairs with last night's hero on the mound for the New Orleans Zephyrs. Lefty John Halama went all the way, and he looked great in doing it, John.
Yes, he sure did. Thank you very much. John and John downstairs here in the dugout. 9 strikeouts, a complete game last night. Got your club off to a terrific start in this 1998 World Series.
Yeah, I mean, my main goal was to get deep in the game without, you know, getting hit up hard at all. I didn't really want to expose the bullpen. I wanted to suck up as many innings, whether we win or lose, to you know, kind of preserve them. Because when it comes to series like this, the best out of 5, bullpen's a big part of it.
Absolutely, and your manager showed a lot of confidence in you, letting you go out there and finish the game in the 9th inning.
Oh yeah, I thought I was done after the 8th. Actually, I thought I was done after the 2nd or 3rd with the control problems that I had. But you know, I kind of found myself, started getting a little comfortable, and when he told me I was going out there for the 9th, you know, it kind of caught me off guard, and you know, I just went out there and tried to continue to do the same thing I did.
Well, you mentioned the control problems. We talked about it a bit on the air last night. The fact you're having a little trouble getting a grip on the baseball in the dry air here in the desert.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe the balls were rubbed up with dirt or not mud or something, but you know, I couldn't throw a 2-seamer at all. It was just up and away, and I pretty much relied on a 4-seamer and my off-speed pitch to kind of keep them off, and mixed in a couple of the 2-seamers, and I started finding it.
Well, you found it, and you went all the way. Great job last night. John Halama downstairs, back up to the fellas in the booth.
John and John, thanks. And if this series goes to 5 games, we'll see John Halama again.
Yeah, he said he was having control problems in the first 3 innings. Thought he'd be out of there. I'd say he's a perfectionist. He ended up with 2 walks, a 4-hitter, and 9 strikeouts. I think a lot of guys would love to have those kind of control problems.
A pretty dry sense of humor as well, with his quip that maybe the baseballs here are rubbed up with dirt instead of mud.
Meanwhile, Matthews, for the first time since the 3rd inning, in a little bit of a struggle here. 2 men on, 1 out, 2 balls, no strikes. Buddy Black out to have a talk with him, and the bullpen is active right now for the Bisons.
Mike Matthews closing in on 100 pitches for the night. The walk issued to Neal, who's now at first. The first given up by Matthews tonight. He has been touched for 6 base hits, and this one is number 7. A drive to the left center field gap, and Berkman will come around to score. Another base running mistake for the New Orleans Zephyrs, stuck between 2nd and 3rd. Mike Neal, he's tagged out. That's costly.
Well, as good as the Zephyrs played last night, they have played very bad fundamental baseball tonight. That is the 4th mistake they've made, and Buffalo, who did not play well last night, has been totally sharp. Cannot make base running mistakes when you're down 4 runs. David Miller just comes in, sees the wide turn. It looked like Neal was trying to dare him to throw either way, and then Neal got caught betwixt and between. That's just a no-no. And a good quick tag by Russell Branyan right on the top of the head. So that allows Matthews maybe to stay in the game. He could have been treading on thin ice there.
May turn out to be one of the biggest plays of the night, as Chris Nichting is the right-hander getting loose in the Buffalo bullpen. He's been very effective for the Bisons. Give Alexander an RBI single. He's at first, and he's the only man on base now after Neal was tagged out in the rundown. 2 men away for Mark Ronan. He went 3 for 4 last night with a couple of runs batted in. 1 for 2 this evening. 2
bad base running plays by the Zephyrs. Both times they were well behind in the game. The fly ball that dropped in right center field, and then Buffalo stole a run as the Zephyrs got caught asleep in a rundown. So 4 mistakes, and it's been costly to New Orleans tonight.
Matthews still hanging in to face the left-hander Ronan, who's sawed off at the plate. That's a foul ball, and Ronan has just a stub of his bat as he heads back to the dugout. There's the other half.
Interesting, the first base umpire made the call. When the first baseman feels it before it gets to the bag, it's really the home plate umpire's call. But Mark Facto did make the call, and he got it correct.
Ronan may be sad to see that bat go. He's up to 413 in postseason play for New Orleans. 4 for 6 in this series, including a single tonight after his 3 for 4 performance last night. Alexander with a short lead away from first.
Solis doing a little traffic directing, moved David Miller, the center fielder, over towards left center a couple of steps.
Matthews a strike away from getting out of trouble. Zephyrs have really hurt themselves with those poor base running mistakes during this game.
Well, stage being set for game 3 again. Last night it was Halama, the great defense of the Zephyrs, the timely hitting by Ward, but tonight it's been Buffalo, who's been much sharper all phases of the game.
Matthews working to Ronan. He misses inside, and the count runs full.
Carlos, excuse me, Lugo on deck, a right-handed batter, and Nichting is, trust me, warmed in the bullpen. So if Ronan reaches, that may be it for Matthews. Third time he's gone to a full count in the inning, so he's starting to struggle with his control.
With 2 men away and the count full, Alexander will take off from first on the pitch. There he goes, and here it comes. Line drive beyond the reach of Colbert Cabrera. A base hit. And Alexander running on the pitch, slides safely in at third base. Ronan's 5th hit of this series. 5 for 7 in the series now for Mark Ronan. Clutch hit there. The Zephyrs have men at the corners. We look ahead to game 3 Thursday afternoon, 3:30 Eastern time, 12:30 here out west, between the Buffalo Bisons and New Orleans Zephyrs. Beautiful Cashman Field in Las Vegas, Nevada, as the inaugural AAA World Series continues all this week. And Mike Matthews will get a nice round of applause as he leaves the ball game. Jeff Datz, the manager of the Bisons, removing Matthews from the game. Matthews didn't get the lefty Mark Ronan to end the inning, Dave, but up until that point, he'd been very effective.
Yeah, again, he could have been in a lot deeper trouble if that base running mistake had not taken place. So Nichting in a position where he just needs to get 1 out to survive the inning.
Veteran right-hander Chris Nichting enters the ball game. Matthews receiving pats on the back in the Buffalo Bisons dugout along the third base line. Nichting, a veteran right-hander, had a solid regular season for the Bisons. 6'1", 205 pounds. He's 32 years old, born in Cincinnati. Nichting pitched last season in the Pacific Coast League for the Edmonton Trappers and really didn't have a good year at all. He went 7-13 with 1 save and a 7.76 ERA.
Well, there have been some great ball players that have played AAA baseball. We thought we'd take you this little break just to give you a few of the great Hall of Famers who played in the Pacific Coast League. You see that list, which is rather impressive to say the least. Mike Schmidt, Joe DiMaggio once had a 61-game hitting streak in the Pacific Coast League. The irony was it was 1933 and he didn't make it to the big leagues until 2 years later. Teddy Ballgame Ted Williams played for the old San Diego Padres. And the International League, certainly not to be outdone. I played against Johnny Bench. He was at Buffalo. The great Roberto Clemente, Bob Gibson, Ferguson Jenkins, Stan the Man Musial, Babe Ruth played with Baltimore in AAA. A couple of Hall of Fame pitchers, Jim Palmer and Tom Seaver. Trust me, there's many more folks, but those were some of the highlighted names.
We've got you covered here on ESPN2 all this week for the AAA World Series here at Cashman Field in Las Vegas. Never hurts to bring a big sign to the ballpark. when the game's on TV. Julio Lugo will face Chris Nichting. Men at the corners. 2 gone, top of the 7th. New Orleans trying to claw back in game 2 of this best-of-5 series. There's Mark Ronan at first after his clutch 2-out single.
Nichting, they brought him in to throw strikes, and he hasn't. He's behind 2-0. So Chris seeing his first action in the AAA World Series, maybe a few butterflies. He's pitching a lot of different roles for the Bisons this year. Start, long relief, short relief. And he is a veteran. Needs to throw a strike here.
And he does.
Lugo's the type of guy he has to get out. Carlos Hernandez on deck is one of the Zephyrs' better hitters.
Nichting has been reliable for Jeff Datz this season. That one is spun foul and too far for Jeff Manto and James Betzold to track down. So Lugo heads back to the plate with the count 2-2.
So far, Lugo's seen nothing but the fastball. See if Nichting stays with that or maybe tries to snap a slider off here.
Nichting effective in the game-clinching win, or the series-clinching win, rather, for the Bisons down in Durham, Game 5 of the Governor's Cup Finals. Nichting pitched a 3rd of an inning and struck out the only man he faced. That was his last outing. Came last Friday night. 2-2 to Lugo. High hopper to short. Holbert Cabrera will handle, and that ends the inning. So Chris Nichting comes in and puts out the fire. We'll head to the 7th inning stretch in Las Vegas. The Bisons have a 4-run edge. From Las Vegas tonight, the ESPN baseball special, Caesars Palace, where we spent the day by the pool. Dave Campbell.
Wasn't a bad day, was it?
No, it was Chamber of Commerce Day here in Las Vegas. Yet another one.
That may be the nicest pool setting I have ever seen.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It really is.
And I was talking about the architecture.
Mike Gerznich now on the hill for the New Orleans Zephyrs as we head to the home half of the 7th inning.
Farm system product, 19th round draft choice of the Astros in '92. Finished 2nd in the Texas League in strikeouts per 9 in '96, so probably has a pretty good arm.
Brutally greeted by Solis, who smacks it deep to center field, and drifting straight back to put it away is Casey Candell.
Casey got a good jump, tracked it down, but it's pretty obvious the ball is carrying well. Casey thinks he's there right about now, but he still has to backpedal as that ball just gets a little extra oomph.
Little bit of a breeze blowing out to straightaway center field. It had been blowing out at a much faster clip earlier in the night. It is 433 feet to straightaway center here at Cashman Field, so you really have to give it a ride to get it out of here. There's that sign atop the center field fence and a 22-foot high center field wall. Leadoff man Holbert Cabrera bunting for a base hit. He may have one. Neal charges, not in time.
Whoa, thought they got him. First base umpire Mark Facto says no, but another terrific defensive play by a Zephyr third baseman.
We have the benefit of the replay. We'll see how close that play was at first.
Boy, it's close. Bang, bang. Too close to call, too close to criticize the umpire. We can't see it in slow motion. How's he supposed to get it?
Torey Lovullo takes a big breaking ball. Lovullo 2 for 3 this evening. Crushing the ball in postseason play for the Bisons. Lovullo, the American Association playoff MVP with the Bisons last year. He hit .440 in postseason play, and he'll be on for the 3rd time tonight as he's plunked by the pitch thrown by Mike Gerznich.
Well, Lovello had the arm guard on, but that didn't help him where he got hit there. Those Zephyrs in trouble again here in the bottom of the 7th, already trailing by 4, and they're going to face the heart of the order now with Jacob Cruz, Jeff Manto, and Phil Hyatt, the next scheduled 3 hitters.
Chance to get Gersnich some work. New Orleans manager John Tamargo inserts him in the ball game, and very quickly in the bottom of the 7th inning, the Bisons are threatening for more offense. Holbert Cabrera is at second, Torey Lovello on at first. Cabrera bunting for a base hit. Lovello hit by the pitch. And here's Jacob Cruz. He hit a sacrifice fly to deep center field his last trip. He also struck out swinging back in the first against left-hander Derek Root. And he's grounded to second. Cruz hit .361 for Phoenix, winning the PCL batting crown last year.
Jacob gave a little fisheye to John Deslin on that one. He thought that one missed. He's down 0-1.
The Indians have so many talented young outfielders in their chain. Cruz, Richie Sexson, who's having a great end of the season with the Indians after playing for Buffalo most of this year.
Well, scouting development, the farm system is still the backbone of any organization. In fact, I'd say a huge percentage of the teams going to postseason are there because of their farm system, scouting and development. It takes a while to do it.
Cruz with a rip to center field. Candell dives and can't come up with it. Everybody's safe. Cabrera had to play it safe, so he manages to get to third. Lovello moves up base to go to second, and Cruz is on at first. Good effort by Casey Candell.
It was indeed, but Cruz gets into the hit column. Casey all-out dive just off the webbing of the glove. Almost a sensational play, but for New Orleans, as good as they played last night, it's been just that close tonight, but they haven't been able to make the play.
Bison starting to break out a few smiles in their dugout. Pitching coach Jim Hickey headed to the mound for the New Orleans Zephyrs. Jeff Manto will be the hitter, and Manto will have a chance to bust this one open with the bases loaded. We talked about Jacob Cruz and Richie Sexson a moment ago. Throw in Alex Ramirez, who had an MVP caliber year with the Bisons this year, picked up his first major league hit last night in the Indians game against the Yanks.
Yeah, and then Ricky Wilson, who was here quite a bit of the year, hit a grand slam homer against Andy Pettit last night. Again, the backbone of Major League Baseball organization is their farm system, the scouting and development. It's just sometimes owners especially get impatient to win right away, and they don't want to pay attention to that detail or spend the money. I think it's very foolish on their part to do so.
John Hart had quite a job ahead of him in Cleveland when he became the general manager there, and he's done a tremendous job, and that success has extended into the farm system with the young talent that he's brought up to Cleveland and the guys that are on this Bisons roster now.
Well, the most dominating team in the 90s, the Atlanta Braves, owe all of their success there too. They were able to build and develop so many of their own players, add a key free agent like Greg Maddux, make a key trade for a guy like John Smoltz. But a lot of the success they've had is because when Bobby Cox took over as general manager there back in '85, the farm system was a priority.
Manto jacks it to left. This is up against the fence, and it could clear the bases. Cabrera and Lovello come around. Cruz stops at third as the ball is fired in from left fielder Lance Berkman. 2-run double for Jeff Manto, and the Bisons have busted it open. It's 8-2.
Punctuation mark right there as Manto really jumped on that pitch, and that's going to be it. John Tamargo, the manager, on his way out. Second time Manto's gotten full extension tonight. This is a no-doubter into the corner. And by the time Berkman can get it up, 2 runs have scored. And you see Cabrera, like any good base runner, tagging up till that ball is safely down in the outfield, and right behind him comes Lovello. And good base running here, heading over to third base is Cruz.
Cruz at third, talking with manager Jeff Datz as the pitching change is made. Manto at second after his 2-run double. And we will take a quick timeout to give the Zephyrs new pitcher a chance to get loose. The Bisons in command, home half the 7th in Las Vegas. We've had a lot of offense here at Cashman Field in Las Vegas tonight. 18 base hits. The Bisons with a 6-run edge. And the fourth pitcher of the night for the New Orleans Zephyrs, right-hander Joe Slusarski, enters.
Former Oriole manager, Mets manager, Cincinnati manager Davey Johnson on hand tonight here in Las Vegas. Out watching the ball game. Sure, Davey is going to be back managing very soon. He is much too talented to be sitting on the sidelines.
Great tan, though. He's had time to work on that. Looks like $1 million here at Cashman Field this evening.
He's another guy awfully good with those golf sticks.
Bill Selby pinch hitting for Phil Hyatt with the right-hander Slusarski now in the ball game. Selby hasn't done a whole lot in the postseason, has he, Dave?
No, just 480, and all that got him was a seat on the bench. But he figures probably to play on Thursday against the right-handed starter Bob Scanlon. Figured that Jeff Datz would get Selby, David Miller, and maybe another left-handed batter he has on the bench, Dave Roberts, and a couple of at-bats in this game to tune him up, because the last time they played Buffalo, I believe, was on Friday. So you don't want to go too long without getting some at-bats.
Quick conference on the mound between the catcher Ronan and the new pitcher Slusarski to talk about how to work Bill Selby. Slusarski's numbers for the regular season.
Spent some major league time. Last time I remember, the Oakland A's.
And Bill Selby comes through with a bouncing ball through the right side. Cruz scores. Manta will hold at third. 9-2 Buffalo. Pinch hit RBI single for Bill Selby. He continues to knock the ball around here in postseason play.
Jacob Cruz scores, and the Bisons are taking a commanding 9-2 lead. Well, we're not the only ones broadcasting this game. On your left, Jim Rosenhaus and Duke McGuire, the Buffalo announcers, and Ken Trahan and former Met great Ron Swoboda carrying the game back to New Orleans. Fun talking with those guys. They've given us a lot of good information to help us with our telecast.
Russell Branyan at the plate. Powerful young left-handed hitter. Belted a long home run to right center field last night. An RBI double back in the third. He's also popped to second and grounded to first on a terrific play made by Darrell Ward with the pitcher covering.
This guy's approach at the plate reminds me, just the way he holds the bat reminds me just a little bit of Junior Griffey up in Seattle.
Branyan has power to spare, and he showed us that last night with that mammoth home run to right center field. His first game with the Bisons this year was last night. He didn't play a single regular season game with Buffalo.
It's kind of the way he moves his arms as the pitcher is coming to the set position. And they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I'm sure Branyan has watched Junior a few times on television.
Stands upright in the box like Griffey does. And he just uncoils with that bat barrel through the zone.
Got the pants down like Junior wears them.
He fouls off the 3-0 pitch, had the green light. It's 3-1.
And if he probably had more seniority in Buffalo, he'd probably have number 24 on.
Branyan with 56 home runs the last 2 years. 39 last year, 17 including last night's this year, and he missed a good chunk of this season with a wrist injury.
Let it all hang out on a 3-1 cut, but drew air.
Joe Slusarski has major league time. 6'4", 205 pounds. Branyan also big, promising prospect at third base. Payoff pitch will come. Selby stays close to the first base bag as Branyan fouls off the payoff pitch.
That was a nice approach by Branyan. On 3-1, he was looking to jerk the ball, but 3-2, he was going to take what the pitcher gave him, which was away, so he tried to shoot it out to left field.
That's good to see from a young hitter.
Absolutely.
Branyan looking to drive in another run in this series. And further extend the Bisons' lead. It doesn't come on this at-bat, though, as he goes down swinging.
Looked like Sluzarski took a little bit off that pitch. Maybe a little backdoor slider or a change. Actually, when Sluzarski followed through, he got right in the way of the ball when it was getting ready to dipsy-doodle. Couldn't see if it was the changeup or the slider.
Sluzarski, who played in Taiwan last year, does have ties to New Orleans. He's a former UNO All-American. He pitched for the U.S. Olympic team in 1988. Getting set to face James Betzold, a 2-run single back in the third. Bisons have really busted out the whooping stick tonight, putting 9 runs on the board, 11 base hits. Betzold does have good power, 10 home runs during the regular season. He didn't play every day. He was really the 4th outfielder on the Bisons ball club. He's in a hole here, 0-2. James Betzold, 6'3", 210 pounds. From Orange, California, there's Jeff Manto at third. And around the horn at first, it's Bill Selby. Betzold watches strike 3 sail by. Joe Sluzarski strikes out Branyan and Betzold to end the 7th, but the Bisons tack on 3 more runs. We'll head to the 8th. Buffalo looking to even this series. The Bisons in great shape.
Back here at beautiful Cashman Field, John Sandler with you high atop the ballpark, 9-2 in favor of the Buffalo Ball Club. Game 2 of this 1998 AAA World Series. And I'm with, I guess, one of the architects and caretakers of a very solid Cleveland Indians minor league system, the director of player development for the Indians, Mr. Mark Shapiro. Mark, thanks for being with us. I guess the fruits of your labor on display tonight.
Well, some of it is. It certainly is. Some of it, more of it's on display in Cleveland, but tremendous sense of pride watching these guys play. More pride tonight, obviously.
I think you're a paradigm example of what's happening in baseball. You're a young man. You've worked your way up through the system. You started with the Indians when you, as you said to me earlier, were the worst organization in baseball, or one of the worst, and now you've been part of that building process, and you've reached a position where you're in charge of sustaining that growth.
Well, I've been really fortunate, really, because opportunity came when we were a downtrodden organization. I was able to learn from John Hart, from Dan O'Dowd. Things for me have been great. It's been a great learning process, and now we're really charged as a player development staff with sustaining success, and that is developing continual assets, and our business assets are players.
Does it give you a sense of pride to see a lot of your guys here in the AAA World Series, and this event's got to make you feel proud?
This event's good for the game of baseball, and to be able to, you know, create a higher stake, a higher level, a higher energy environment for our players is a tremendous development tool. The ultimate satisfaction comes from seeing our players contribute at the major league level on championship caliber of play. But what we've done here is we've elevated the championship caliber of play to the highest level it can be at the minor league level. So to me, it's fantastic.
Well, and you've also got great representation because you've got the Indians, a playoff club in the American League, the Astros, top affiliate New Orleans, playoff club in the National League, a nice mirror image.
Well, you know, I'd love it to be a mirror image of what happens in late October, so we can only hope that happens. And I know Jerry Hunsicker said that tonight. I'd be happy to see that.
That would be terrific. Mark Shapiro, the director of player development for the Cleveland Indians, a man who works hard and whose hard work is paying off. An example here tonight at Cashman Field. Ted and Dave.
John Sandler, thanks again.
Probably knows something about negotiating contracts, too. His father is Ron Shapiro, the agent out of Baltimore, who represents, among other people, Cal Ripken Jr., I do believe, and used to represent Kirby Puckett, probably still does. So pretty good bloodlines there, and I think he's probably learned a bit about negotiating.
Buffalo Bisons, championship ball club the last couple of seasons. They won the last American Association title last year and won the International League's Governor's Cup this year. Darrell Ward held hitless tonight after his offensive explosion last night. 2 long 2-run home runs.
Can you imagine if Ron becomes or Mark becomes a major league general manager and then has to negotiate head-to-head with Dad?
They might have to do it over Thanksgiving dinner. Nichting on in his first full inning of relief. Darrell Ward went deep not once but twice last night.
Well, he hit him to all fields. He went to left center his first time up, and then hit a single to center field, and then his third at bat, he crunched one to right field. He got out in front of this one and drove it deep.
What a blast to right center.
You know, one of the interesting things you mentioned over Thanksgiving dinner, remember when the Astros and the Padres pulled off that 12-player deal? Randy Smith was the general manager of the Padres at the time, and his father, Tal Smith, still the president of the Astros. And then when Randy went on to Detroit, those two teams hooked up in a 14-player deal, and Darrell Ward was part of that trade. He was in the Tiger organization.
We talked about that last night. And a great pickup for the Houston organization. Darrell Ward with a very high ceiling. Similar to this high fly ball, deep left center. And the center fielder Miller will take it, putting it away. That ends the top of the 8th inning. Chris Nichting has set down 4 New Orleans Zephyrs doing his job. Home half of the 8th coming up. Bisons by 7. The fans who have stayed up late back home in Buffalo to watch their Bisons here on ESPN2 tonight will probably see the Bisons bat for the final time in the bottom of the 8th inning. Thursday night, you have college football to look forward to on ESPN, a 7:30 Eastern time kickoff as the Arizona Wildcats meet the San Diego State Aztecs. Having 2 good quarterbacks, a luxury Arizona loves to have, the likes of Ortega Jenkins and Keith Smith. Throw in speedy receivers Dennis Northcutt and Jeremy McDaniel. A tough offense. That'll give San Diego State a test out in San Diego. Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. Brian Sikorsky, the new man on the mound for the New Orleans Zephyrs as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. Sikorsky's numbers during the regular season knocked around a bit. Strikeouts to walk ratio, not too shabby at all, 2-to-1. David Miller hitting for the 2nd time tonight. He entered as a pinch hitter in the 6th and lined to right. He's ahead of Sikorsky quickly, 2-0. David Miller has a wealth of talent, yet another young outfielder with a lot of skills in the Cleveland Indians organization. Miller was a first-round pick of the Indians, the 23rd player selected overall in the 1995 June draft. Has good size for center fielder. You don't see that very much at all. He taps back to the mound, and he's thrown out by Sikorsky, who fields his position to get the first out.
Well, I'm sure the Indians brass certainly was impressed with Mike Matthews tonight. He still needs a little fine-tuning, but he's displayed a good fastball tonight, a good breaking ball, a lot of mound poise. So the youngster, again, his first year in pro baseball, he went 7-0 in the rookie league with a 1.01 ERA, then tore the rotator cuff. And those things take a long while to get arm strength back. But last couple of years, he started to show that good fastball again.
Steve Solis fouls the first pitch above us. We were set to try to field that one, Dave. We've had a few come back our way tonight.
It's tough to field one when you get your head under the table. Discretion being the better part of valor.
Absolutely.
I had a good fortune of broadcasting the 1984 World Series between the Padres and Tigers. I'd always heard about those broadcast booths in Detroit, Tiger Stadium.
Right.
I'll tell you, you couldn't even blink before they were back at you.
That protective screen behind the plate here needs to be just a little bit higher. Solis 0 for 3 tonight. 2 ground balls to third and a fly ball to center. Looks like we will have a game 4 in this best-of-5 series. Solis gets under this, and we'll see if Ward has a play in foul ground. Indeed, he will. Quickly, 2 men away in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Well, Darrell Ward hadn't gotten a hit column tonight, but I'm sure Jerry Hunsaker was pleased with the defensive play he made. Again, that's the one thing. Of course, finding a space for him in Houston, that outfield awfully well set. Moises Alou, the tandem in center with Carl Everett and Richard Hidalgo. Derek Bell having a great year in right, and of course Jeff Bagwell.
Colbert Cabrera at the plate for the 5th time this evening. Bunted for a base hit his last at bat, and that helped start a 3-run rally for the Bisons in the 7th. That put this ball game basically out of reach.
Well, he's been the catalyst for 2 of their big innings. The bunt you talked about. He also let off the first inning, got hit by a pitch, and they scored 2 runs. So a couple of innings where they produced 5 runs. Colbert started them both by getting aboard.
He scored twice tonight. Cabrera appeared as the leadoff man 85 times for Buffalo during the regular season and hit .312, scoring 71 runs. His brother Orlando is a shortstop for the Montreal Expos. They played together for the Ottawa Lynx last year, top farm club for Montreal. This should be the 3rd out. Bouncing ball to Hernandez, and Cabrera is retired. That ends the bottom of the 8th inning. So a solid 1-2-3 inning for Sikorsky, and we'll head to the 9th inning. Later this week, we'll crown the AAA champion here in Las Vegas, Nevada. No place to go but up for the New Orleans Zephyrs as we head to the top of the 9th inning. The Bisons with a 7-run bulge. That's actually a revolving restaurant, part of the beautiful skyline here in Las Vegas. Only one place in the world like Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah. What, are you going to tell me Boston?
No, what I meant to say is that there really isn't any place like Las Vegas, Nevada. You knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Hanging me out to dry at the top of the 9th. Jason Grimsley on the mound for the Buffalo Bisons after Chris Nichting set down all 4 Zephyrs he faced. Paul Russo leads off the 9th. 1 for 3 on the evening. Grimsley comes with a fastball.
Obviously, it was a great boxing capital of the world is Las Vegas, but one of the interesting things last year, they brought NASCAR here. They had 107,000 visitors when the NASCAR race was held, and that'll be this March.
Grimsley misses up and in again with the heat. Lance Berkman waits on deck. Berkman has shown signs of busting out of a postseason slump with a couple of base hits in this game tonight. Russo snapped an 0 for 16 postseason slump with his double back in the 4th.
Now, just about the time Berkman gets his right-handed swing down, now he's going to have to turn around and bat left-handed. Again, last night we noticed when he batted left-handed, he had a little loop in the swing. We'll see if maybe he was able to correct that in batting practice tonight.
Russo pokes this one foul to right, so we'll do it again with the count 2-2. Grimsley has 9 toes. He lost his left big toe in a motorcycle accident when he was 12 years old. That's the foot he plants with as he comes down as the right-handed pitcher.
Yeah, 9-toed Grimsley doesn't have quite the same ring as 3-fingered Brown. You know?
Jason 9-toe Grimsley on the hill. Should be an easy play for Torey Lovullo. Russo retired, 1 gone, top of the 9th.
Well, again, in the series so far, there's been a couple of misplays. 1 fly ball that dropped in the outfield in confusion, but as far as handling the ball, the series has been errorless, and we've seen some brilliant defense, particularly at 3rd base for New Orleans in the series with Chris Truby last night and Mr. Neal tonight. He has played very solid defensively.
Switch hitter Lance Berkman will hit from the left side against the right-hander Jason Grimsley. Grimsley fires that one back to the backstop, and he has had bouts of wildness with the Bisons this year.
Jim, to give you one little more nugget from minor league history, speaking of wildness, there was a guy named Alex Swales in 1938. He lost a ball game 16-7. He walked 32 men in the game.
That would do it.
just a tad outside. And the winning pitcher that day, a good friend of mine, he used to be the pitching coach for the St. Louis Cardinals, Hub Kibble, he walked 11. Hub up in Yakima, Washington. 32 walks in a game by a pitcher.
I feel bad for the guys who had to chart the pitches in that game. Pitch count very high that afternoon. Grimsley threw 14 wild pitches for the Bisons during the regular season, far and away the leader on the team. And you wonder if maybe it's the plant foot causes him to miss the zone a little bit. Berkman up in the count, 3-1. So if he gets a pitch he can handle, he'll look to drive it with the hitter's count. He has excellent power and had a terrific college baseball career at Rice. Hit hard to short, but right at Holbert Cabrera. 2 gone in the 9th.
Thought I was going to have to bite my tongue. Looked like Holbert was going to get a little in between hop, but he handled it very smoothly. Showed nice hands on the play.
Cabrera made a slew of errors during the regular season, 27. He's one of those shortstops that will make the very difficult play, but sometimes will muff a ball hit right to him.
Well, he found the key tonight. He pulled the pant legs up, and the socks are different, so everything's going his way tonight.
I like the look.
What do you think? How do you think he's going to wear them on Thursday?
Oh, definitely up around the knees. Mike Neal represents the final hope, and there's that Grimsley wildness, nearly decapitating Mike Neal.
Yeah, Grimsley really throws a lot across his body. And that ball, that had some nasty music coming.
That is scary, and that was a fastball all the way.
One thing you don't know about, is there any history between these two players? Chances are no, but you never know.
Up and in, to say the least, on that first pitch. Neal takes a cut and misses. It's 1-1. So we'll have a game 3, and it won't settle the series, as the Bisons are on the brink of tying this best of 5 at a game apiece. That game coming up Thursday afternoon.
Well, it's going to be the veteran against the rookie, Bob Scanlon, who has been around with several major league clubs. He's been pitching great lately. And Willie Martinez, one of the Tribe's top pitching prospects, scheduled to go for Buffalo.
Very interesting matchup ahead, and a real contrast in styles. Neal walked back in the 7th. He's also popped to second and popped to short, playing third base in place of the injured Chris Truby out with a bad wrist. Neal made several flashy plays at third tonight, so he didn't embarrass himself in place of Truby by any stretch. Grimsley missing again, so the count runs full.
I know Jeff Datz would like to see Grimsley have a solid outing here. He's retired the first 2. Jeff told me before the series, toughest thing for his club has been getting the last 6 outs in ball games.
Tonight's game comes to a close as Jason Grimsley fans Mike Neal to end it, and the Buffalo Bisons have tied this best of 5 series at a game apiece. And we talked about this before the game began, Dave. This is a win that the Buffalo Bisons had to have, and they got the job done.
Yeah, they really did. And a total contrast in games. In game 1, New Orleans played almost a perfect game. They made a lot of mistakes tonight. On the other side of the coin, Buffalo played near perfect baseball, got a lot of clutch hits. They may have played the solid D and got the good pitching.
So the Buffalo Bisons win game 2 of this best of 5 series, 9-2. Join us again Thursday afternoon, a 3:30 Eastern time start, 12:30 here out west. Game 3 of the AAA World Series. Coming up next, NFL Films presents The Love of the Game. Thanks to Dave Campbell, of course, John Sandler down on the field, and our entire crew. This is Ted DeLuca from Cashman Field in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Buffalo Bisons back in business tonight with a 9-2 win over the New Orleans Zephyrs. Join us Thursday afternoon for Game 3, this best of 5 inaugural AAA World Series, all tied up at a game apiece. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide